There we go. Apologies for that. Anyway, we are live. And as you can see, I'm still trying to figure this out. I need to do this more often so that I get used to StreamYard. And let's get after things here. So what I want to do today, a little bit different. I'm going to talk first about reverse dieting and why I think now is the perfect time for a lot of people to start the reverse diets. And this kind of goes against what most people would probably think, but I will explain why. And then after I'm done talking about the reverse dieting side of things, I will get into the live Q&A and go over your questions. And let's get after it here. So right now, it is the middle of July. All right. If you are going into a reverse diet, now there's a lot of different factors at play here, but I usually recommend for people, especially who have a longer history of dieting and have a history of yo-yo dieting, to reverse diet at least for 6 months. Now, like I said, there's many different factors at play here. This is a huge generalization, but I usually recommend at least 6 months. So, well, where is 6 months from right now? Middle of January of 2022. So why I think right now is the perfect time to start a reverse diet if you're concerned about it is, okay, right now, first of all, we're in the middle of summer here. It's a great time. We're do lots of like barbecues and get-togethers with friends and go to the beach and go out and have fun. Start getting your calories up to be able to enjoy that stuff more. Get through this phase, get your calories up, and then as you start getting closer to the holiday season, which is going to be here before we know it, now once you get to the holiday season, your metabolism is going to be on fire. Your calories are going to be nice and high. You will have improved, hopefully, your relationship with food and the process as a whole, and you'll be able to go through a time that most people struggle with immensely, with a completely different perspective, a completely different metabolism, and you'll be able to enjoy all the good food and treats and stuff around and be able to handle it well because you'll have plenty of balance and flexibility. Your metabolism will be able to handle all the extra food, and you can get through that part in a really good place. And then after that, if you're in a position to start your cut afterwards in January, now you've taken the time to put your metabolism back into a better place. You've gotten through the most difficult time of year with plenty of freedom. This way you don't risk doing what so many people do, and that is diet hard and then get into the holiday season and then just completely gorge themselves because their hormones and metabolism are tanked, and they're they just can't quite handle all the extra food around, and emotions take over, and tons of people gain a lot of weight over the holiday season. So why not start now? Start the process now. If it's something you need to do anyways, don't wait. I mean, now is always a good time. And I don't mean now as in like July. I mean now, like whatever the current now is for you. Any time of the year, you always just want to get after it and start it. But man, this is about the perfect time of year to start. If you've been considering starting a reverse diet and you want to do it, now's the time to do it. I mean, it's just everything lines up perfectly. So that's my little speech on why now is the perfect time to start a reverse. Now I will switch over and we'll go into the live Q&A. And I've got some already here. So some of these might be questions that I've already got, but I'll deal with that. So anyway, let's jump into it. So Priscilla, coming from a skinny fat background at maintenance calories, training hard, progressive overload, 4 days a week, consistently, good volume for 15 months. Realistically, how long does it take to see muscles popping? So I'm going to say that I don't ever like to put timelines on anything. I shouldn't say ever, but very rarely. I don't like to create expectations because nothing good comes from it. And the reason is because whenever we create these expectations, it just kind of really derails us down the road if things don't go according to those expectations. And one thing you need to consider too, like if you're in a long building phase, your muscles, you don't really see the muscles that you build until you go through a cutting phase down the road. So you may be building plenty, but you're not really going to see it because you're also accumulating some fat too. Now, can some people recomp? Of course, especially, skinny fat is oftentimes the type of person who can go through a good recomp. But you're going to be accumulating some fat along with the muscle, so you don't really see it a whole lot. And that's one of the challenges too of going through a reverse / building phases, because we're so motivated by progress and you don't really see the progress. I mean, you feel yourself getting stronger and things like that. But the actual progress that you're going to see, the muscles really popping and everything, that's what's going to come down the road when you eventually go through the cutting phase to display all the muscle that you've built. And I can't tell you, when I go through cutting phases myself, I quite often start getting compliments like, wow, you're looking really big. Like, it happens all the time. Like, I start cutting and I start losing some body fat, and muscles start to pop a bit more and go, oh, wow, you're looking really big. I'm like, well, actually I'm down like 10 pounds or 15 pounds or whatever it may be. Right. But because I shed the body fat that's covering up the muscles more, it gives them the appearance of looking bigger and therefore looking more muscular. But I actually haven't built muscle in that time. I'm just displaying what I've built in all that time outside of a calorie deficit. So, I can't really say. I mean, even if I wanted to say, which I don't, because I don't like creating expectations. You're so much better off just focusing on what you need to do to go through the process and letting results happen in the time they're going to happen versus going, okay, like, and I get it. We all want to know, like, how long is it going to take and what can I expect and everything like that. But it's just so demotivating because it usually doesn't go as well as you would expect or want. And if we get too caught up in timelines and stuff, it just puts us in a negative mental place, makes it that much more likely to end up giving up and end up going backwards. So, just keep going, keep doing what you're doing. Results are slow, but they'll happen in time. And while it may not happen quickly, it will continue to happen. All right. Would it be okay to increase calories by 10 calories a day, 70 calories a week until I reach my TDEE? I walk 20,000 steps per day. No other exercise, which I've seen is considered a heavy activity. Yeah, that's a lot of steps. Not a lot of people get that many steps, but it's all relative, of course. As far as increasing 10 calories a day, I mean, you can if you would prefer to do that. I usually just make more of a static increase. Like, so if you want to do 70 calories for the week, you could do 70 or 50 or whatever it may be. You could do it 10 per day if you want. There's nothing wrong with that. And if it doesn't bother you, by all means do that. I wouldn't get too caught up in like what your TDEE should be, just because if we get stuck in these calculations and stuff, you have to understand it's not specific to you, your genetics, your diet history, all these things about you that some calculator can never, ever know. So if you try to force yourself into whatever one of those calculators say, you could go way above what you can actually handle, or you may never get anywhere close to what you can handle just because it can't know. So you're better off paying attention to how your body is responding, how you're feeling, your hunger signals, and all these different things. I have a video on this called When to End Reverse Diet, I think, something like that kind of goes over some of these things. And that's a much better way to look at things versus just, okay, like I hear that all the time, like, well, I'm going to do it until I get to 2,000 calories. Well, what if your true genetic maintenance calories is 1,600 calories, but you force it to 2,000? You're going to gain a lot of weight because your body can't handle that. So that's why I don't like just, I'm going to increase 50 or 100 calories every single week, no matter how it's going, and I'm going to get to a certain number. It's like, I mean, can that work? Sure. But you're way better off just seeing how things are going and adjusting accordingly, in my personal opinion. Right. Another one here. Could I reverse diet without exercising as long as I don't go over my sedentary TDEE goal? So again, I just touched on that. My idea would be to stop doing steps, stay at low calories for a little while, and just slowly increase. I need to read that again. That's not making sense to me. Stop doing steps, stay at low calories for a little while, and then just slowly increase. Oh, so what you're saying is, I think, is to take your steps way down, but keep your calories low. And then as your body adapts, start slowly increasing your calories. If that's not making sense. Oh, wait, you followed up your calories to sedentary. Yeah, I'm still not understanding. So anyways, as far as the exercise side of things, with steps, keep in mind that your body's going to adapt to whatever you normally do with your activities. So if you're taking 20,000 steps a day, eventually your body is that's just going to be the new normal for you. And if you're looking to cut again down the road and you're already taking 20,000 steps a day, well, then that's your baseline. So if you want to push for fat loss, it's going to be really hard to take more than 20,000 steps a day, right? You'll just have to do it all through mostly your exercise, or your calorie reduction, and then maybe other forms of exercise. I personally highly recommend a good strength training program in a reverse diet. I mean, this is something that is underutilized like crazy. It's the form of exercise you can use that still benefits you during a reverse diet, whereas more cardio can help more in a cutting phase to help create the extra calorie burn that's necessary to create an actual calorie deficit. But taking the time to build more muscle only improves your metabolism more, and your body doesn't adapt to it quite as quickly. And there's a lot of benefits to it, just general health and everything else. Use this time in the reverse to set yourself up with the foundation so that when you do come down the road, now your cardio is lower, you've built more muscle, you've built your metabolism more, your calories are high. Now you have tons of options and rooms to make an adjustment as it's time to start your cutting phase. So I don't know if that really answers your question. I don't know that I necessarily understood it, but if you want to clarify a little bit, let me know. Morning, Jake and Kim. All right. How to, I'm assuming that's produce, how to proceed to get back to maintenance after low calorie diet. I am on 1,200 calories and no clue how to bring them back up. So you still gradually increasing your calories to get your maintenance calories up. So as I mentioned, your body adapts whatever you do. That means if you've been on lower calories for a long time, eventually that becomes the new norm. That becomes your new maintenance. So to increase your maintenance calories, you need to bring calories up. The problem is if you just jump calories way back up really fast and your maintenance calories are lower, like say for instance, you're maintaining on 1,200 calories and you jump up to 1,700 calories. Well, now you're in a 500 calorie surplus and you're going to gain weight quickly, like probably a good pound a week or so. So to help improve your metabolism and get your maintenance calories up while minimizing, not avoid completely, minimize the amount of weight that you gain, the fat that you gain during that process, you more gradually increase it. I have tons of videos on this, on reverse dieting. I have a whole playlist I would go to it's called Reverse Dieting to Improve Metabolism, I think. And it'll walk you through different ways to increase your calories depending on what's most important to you, what your goals are, what your histories are, things like that. But you gradually increase it. So like I said, you could do like 50 calories a week or so. I'm much more of a fan of paying attention to how things are going, taking an average of your weight for the week. If you're gaining, do a little bit smaller increase or hold steady. If you're maintaining, a more moderate increase. If you're losing, you can make a bigger increase. It all really just kind of depends, but that's how you're going to help get those maintenance calories up without just slapping on a bunch of fat. And then you just need to give it a lot of time. And I cover that in all those videos as well, which, if you aren't following me on Instagram, please do so. Colin DeWaay. And I've been trying to step up my game there a little bit and doing some clips from these as well to create more content. So make sure you're doing that. I've been reversing for quite a while now. 140 pounds, female, 5'5", athletic build, no cardio. I've gotten up to 2,000 to 2,200 calories, and I really have no desire to go higher. I feel good, and hunger is fine. Is there any reason to push higher at this point? I keep seeing this magic 2,500 number, or could I just stay around this range for 6 more months and start the cut in January to lose about 15 pounds? So you can definitely, as far as I'm concerned, you could stay here at this range. So when to end a reverse diet it's kind of like, are you feeling good? Are your hunger signals good? Are your hunger hormones in a better place? Have you lost like all the extra food focus? Are you performing well, feeling good? Which it sounds like you are, and in a pretty good place. There's no need to force extra calories unless you really want to. And again, as I mentioned earlier, 2,500 calories may be way too much for you. I mean, 2,000 calories for someone your size is quite a bit of food for most people. It's all relative. Of course, everyone's different, and genetics certainly matter a lot. But because you have a genetic or athletic build and everything, that's probably why you are able to maintain on higher calories than the typical female around your size. But yeah, I mean, if you're good there, that's good. Like, could increasing your calories from here give you a slight metabolic boost to help a bit down the road? Potentially, but it might not be as much as you would think. And it also comes with the risk of possibly gaining more body fat than you'd want to, that you'd have to take off down the road too. So if you're good here and you're happy with things and everything, I would just stay here and just hold on. Like you said, if you want to start another 6 months or so, which goes right in line with the beginning of this video about perfect timing and everything, then yeah, that's great. Like, the biggest thing for you is just going to be time, length of time out of a calorie deficit. The longer you're out, the better you're going to be, the better off your body's most likely to respond when you do come to cut down the road. And you're going to have plenty of time to do that. So yeah, I would just stay there if you're content. If doing squats twice per week is the exception to be able to progress, if doing squats twice per week is the expectation to be able to progress per workout or per week, I find I can increase reps per week, but not the second workout of the same week. Well, you're not going to be able to just get stronger every single session or every single week. You know, if you're early to training, if you've never really done it before, yeah, you can gain really fast, but your body's gonna, because your body adapts quickly, and you just keep making these increases. But over time, that's going to slow down, and you have to be a little bit more methodical. The stronger you get, the longer you do it to keep seeing progress. I mean, if you think about it, like if you're able to add 1 rep to any weight every single week for the rest of your life, like 10 years from now, you'd be doing 500 reps at like 200 pounds or something, like, right? Obviously that's not going to happen. Same thing, like people think, well, I should be able to increase my weight 5 pounds every single week. Like, no, you would be gaining 250 pounds of strength to whatever lift you're talking about every single year. You'd be squatting 2,000 pounds in 4 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not going to happen that way. So you want to design it in a way that, yeah, it's going to be a little bit, usually it's going to be easier earlier in the block, to get a little bit more progressively difficult. Then you deload, get some recovery, start up a new training plan. But you do want to overload over time, but you don't want to get too caught up in it. So no, you shouldn't think that you'll always be able to increase. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't, and that's okay. Hey, Chris. I watched a talk the other day where they described how inaccurate calorie information is on foods. It makes me wonder if tracking nutrients over calories may be a more effective method. If your goal or desire is to be as spot on as possible, and I'm not saying that's the right answer, I'm just saying if that's your goal, is to be as accurate as possible, then tracking macros over calories is going to give you the most accurate information, because any nutrition label has the ability to round depending on how many calories are in it. So like under 5 calories, they can round down to 0. I'm trying to remember all the exact numbers. I think it's up to 50 calories. They can round to the nearest 5. And then above that is to the nearest 10 or something. And they can go up or down no matter what. So like if it was 199 calories, they could count it as 190 calories. And they can round certain macros too. So if it's 4.9 grams of fat, they can round that and not. So the point is, there's a lot of rounding on nutrition labels, so that can throw things off. And then there's also things like fiber and sugar alcohols that are like net carbs that they don't have to count the calories on, but they do have to count the carb. And that's kind of a loophole, because with a lot of fibers and stuff like that, you do still get calories from it. Your body converts it to short chain fatty acids, and you still get calories from that. It's not as much as the normal 4 calories. It's probably like 2.5 maybe, but you still get calories from it. And everything like that. So the point is, if you're looking at calories, that's not going to make your macros line up. But if you're looking at macros, then your calories will be accurate, like pretty much dead on for the most part. Not exactly, but it's going to be much more accurate. So like 10 grams of carbs and 10 grams of fat, they're each 4 grams or 4 calories per gram. So you would have 80 calories, right? If it was 10 and 10 and no fat, just for instance. But it could say, 85 calories, but 10 and 10 on the label, and that's not going to be as accurate. You know what I mean? So that's not necessarily what I would recommend. I actually wouldn't recommend being too caught up in being perfect with macros for most people, because it's going to be probably unsustainable and drive people insane trying to be that perfect. But if you do want to be as perfect as possible, which everyone's a little bit different, then that's the best way to be as accurate as possible, because the calorie information on a food label isn't going to be right. Plus, you always have to consider too, there's literally no such thing as perfection anyways, because there can be up to like a 20% error in either direction on packaging labels. So all the more reason why we can't get so caught up in I have to be perfect all the time. If I don't know exactly, there's no point. Like, no, you're never going to be perfect. It doesn't exist. The point is to keep yourself in the ballpark and not fall into the all or nothing mentality. So hopefully that was helpful. How long do you consider is a good amount of time to bulk for a woman? I've trained hard for years, but the most of the time I've been on a deficit, so I don't have enough muscle mass. So it's not women or men, it's the same. And there isn't a magic answer here. However, you want to if building muscle is one of your priorities, then you need to spend more time not dieting than you do dieting. And that's for metabolic reasons too, but especially for building muscle, because in order to optimally build muscle, you need to be in a small, you don't need to be in a large calorie surplus, but a small calorie surplus, and give it time. So one of my kind of like general rules for somebody who wants to build is at least 2 times out of a deficit and in a building phase as in a deficit. So like if you cut for 6 months, you would build for a year. If you cut for 3 months, you build for at least 6 months. That's like what I would consider to be the minimum, but the longer the better. The more time you spend out, the better. Now, like for a lot of people, if you're already relatively lean, which it sounds like you probably are, you could probably spend a lot more time. Like you might be able to spend a year and a half, 2 years out of a deficit in a good building phase. And then you can come back and cut back real quick. Like I have some clients who they spend the majority of the year building. They'll go through like 10, 12 week cuts and then get back out. And they're literally spending 4, 5, 6 times as much time sometimes out of a deficit, and then just quick cuts to get some body fat off and then back in again. But it's all different, for every single person. Every situation is unique. But the short answer is the longer you're out of a deficit, the better off you're going to be, the more likely you're going to be able to build better, and the more successful your cut will be as well when you do come down the road to cut. So I would recommend at least 2 times as much time as dieting. And if you can spend a whole year regardless, man, do it. Like, man, your body would thank you so much to spend a good year in a building phase. All right. Which, by the way, if you're interested in online coaching, just head to my website, ColinDeWaayTraining.com, fill out an application, and I will shoot a video just like this, going over it, talking about all the different points that you have on the application in the questionnaire, and I will shoot a video like this, send it back to you, and talk about everything that you need to consider and that I think about your current situation, and then we kind of take it from there. So if you do fill out an application and you don't hear back from me within 24 hours, that means it went to your spam. I guarantee you, I never wait more than 24 hours to respond to somebody. So if you don't see it, check your spam junk folder. It's probably in there. Perfect transition. If I become a client of yours, what happens after that? Can you be more specific? So, I mean, there's no like generic general plans that just go out to everybody. It's all unique to each person, in the individual themselves, what their goals are, what their preferences are, all those types of things. So, I mean, the things that are constant is we have a weekly check-in. So there's a check-in once per week where we go over things. I get data from you on a spreadsheet with regards to nutrition, training, if you're doing training as well, and things like that. And you kind of tell me how things are going and what you struggled with, what's going well, questions you have. And then I go over things and make adjustments if necessary for the following week. But you're not limited to the weekly check-in to contact me. You can email me anytime you want. And I guarantee responses within 24 hours. It's just that's like the official time we go over things. Yeah, I mean, it can change so much, and there's no like one set way. I have ways that we'll do things to start, but if that's not something that's going well for you or that you enjoy, then we'll change it up, right? Like there's hundreds and hundreds of ways to do this stuff, so there's no one set way. But if you have something more specific you're asking about, let me know, or just fill out an application and ask questions that you have on there as well. Just discovered your channel. You're doing an amazing job, boy. Thank you. I'm about to watch your video on macros to build my meal plan. Yes, you're very welcome. Thank you, Val. And I guess I'm shortening your name, Valerie. If you have any questions, just leave comments on those videos, and I'm happy to get back to you. So I really appreciate it. Okay, I have plenty of questions on my channel that I had people ask about earlier until more come in. So let me bring those up. I should have had that ready. I apologize. But I've got plenty. Just good. Let me see if I can get it over there. Let's do this. That didn't work. Why isn't this working? Bear with me for a second. Not working at all. Well, I'm just going to read them then. I obviously need to practice with this. All right, let me just go read it. And get this off of here. Let's go like this. All right, why exactly does our body not respond to a cut if you haven't reversed diet long enough? So the reason for this is because if you haven't taken the time to properly get your hormones back into a better place, improve your metabolism back to a better place, your body hasn't enough time to adapt to the higher calories and hopefully lower cardio. And it's just too soon. So when you try to cut again, your body's still protecting against it. So your body, as it adapts to lower calories and any dieting, especially if you have a long history of yo-yo dieting, extreme dieting, the more you do this, the more your body's going to fight against it, because it's basically protecting itself against starvation. Like if you think about like the early times when food was very scarce, right? Like if you just lost weight easily without eating a lot of food, you would basically just starve to death, because you would go a long time without food. And then when you did come around food, like you need to be able to store it and keep it for a long time. So this is what happens. Your metabolism slows down and you put yourself in a position where, okay, now your body's going to do a better job of hanging on to what you give it so that you don't starve yourself to death. So now in these times when food is ready, available, very calorie dense, easy to consume, easy to find, cheap, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're in completely different situations. So now it's protecting against that starvation, not to be confused with starvation mode. That's something different that does not exist. That's the topic for a video of itself. But yeah, I mean, it just is trying to protect against that, and it doesn't want to lose fat because it feels like the energy supply that you're going to give it is going to be scarce. And it feels like at any given time, I might not be able to eat for a while or not eat much. So I need to hold on to what I have. So if you don't take enough time, your body hasn't recovered yet. And that's why it just is still guarding against it. So it needs time. This is why like I said earlier, the more time you can spend out of a calorie deficit, the better off you're going to be. You cannot reverse diet too long, but you can definitely reverse diet too short. And if you just don't give it enough time and you try to cut again, not only is your body not going to respond, but you're going to basically undo everything that you did in the reverse dieting that you did do, and have to start over, unless you get in and get out real quick. So you always want to be patient and be cautious and give it plenty of time, so this doesn't happen, because your body is going to fight it. And, like I said, the longer you do it, the more extreme you do it, the worse it's going to get. So we got to slow down, be patient, and play that long game. It's all about that long game, and it's what's missing from so many people. All right, I think we got some new ones. This is a pretty basic question, and I'm sure you've done a video on this, but what are your protein intake recommendations for men and women? All advice seems to differ slightly. So recommendations, I usually just say right around 1 gram per pound of body weight, or 2.2 per kilogram. I think, if I remember right, you're overseas. So that's kind of a general assessment though. So if you look at research, it kind of seems like the most you can probably use for anabolism, for building muscle, is somewhere around 0.8 grams per pound. So, and what is that for kg? 0.8 times 2.20, what's it? 1.76. So that's kind of like the minimum. If you want to be able to build muscle and everything, you want to at least do that. So usually between about 0.8 grams per pound up to 1.2, because there's more benefit to protein than just building muscle. So there's also the fact that it is very filling. It helps you feel full. So the hunger hormone is ghrelin. It's nicknamed the hunger hormone because as ghrelin increases, you become more hungry. Protein significantly reduces the hormone ghrelin, which is why it helps you feel full. It's not just because it's like hard to digest or whatever else. I mean, that helps. That's part of it. But it's just because it really reduces that hormone. So it helps you feel full, which obviously has a lot of benefit, especially as calories are lower and you're in a calorie deficit. And then it also has an extremely high thermic effect of food. I know I talk about this stuff all the time, but it's important. It's very true. The thermic effect of food is how many calories your body processes just burning the food you eat. And this is kind of like what people make the argument of, like, not all calories are created equals, because while whatever calories going into your mouth, 100 calories from broccoli or chicken or whatever else is the same as 100 calories of a donut going into your mouth, but it's what happens as your body processes that food, and then you burn some calories from that. So the thermic effect of protein is around like 25, maybe 30%, meaning like 25, 30% of the calories you consume from protein just get burned up by the body before it has a chance to do anything. Whereas it's only like 2 to 3 for fat, and like 5 to 8 for carbs. So it has the benefit of that as well, which is why when you see calorie equated diets where they have different protein intakes, the group that does protein typically loses more body fat and retains more lean body mass because of those benefits of protein. So that's for people who are not too overweight. If you have a lot of weight to lose, if you're obese, then it's a little bit more difficult and unnecessary to eat that much protein. In that case, I just kind of say use the same targets, but just do like a goal weight. I mean, you could do like lean body mass equations and stuff like that, but just use like a goal weight. So like if you're 280 pounds and you want to get to 170, whatever, just do 170 grams of protein. That's going to be more than enough. And you could probably even go lower than that. That's quite a bit. But it really just kind of depends on the individual, but it's not different for men or women, really, for the most part. Women typically get less calories. They burn less calories. So it might be a little bit lower for them, and their lean body mass is going to be lower too. So that's why if you use lean body mass equations, which you certainly can do, then that's going to give you lower numbers. But it remains relatively similar, maybe just a little bit less for women. Thank you, Kim. I really appreciate it. What are your thoughts? Calories in, calories out, be hormones. So I think what you're asking is my thoughts on calories in versus calories out and versus hormones. I think hormones play a role in keeping calorie targets. When I eat lower carb early in the day, I crave less and stay within targets. So I think what you're saying at the end has more to do with you just tend to probably benefit from eating more in the morning, and that helps you feel full and satisfied. Everyone's a little bit different. Like me, I don't eat in the morning at all because I'm just never hungry. But the calories in versus calories out versus hormones argument is the dumbest argument in the history of the planet, because they're the same. It's just people don't understand what calories in versus calories out is. I have videos on this. If you look up, I think it is calories in versus calories out myth or something like that. I explain this in much more detail, but hormones play a role 100%. I'm not saying they don't, but the reason hormones play a role is because you burn less calories through things like the thermic effect of food, thermic effect of exercise, your BMR and things like that when your hormones get all checked up. So calories in, again, is the calories in your mouth. Calories out is the thermic effect of food, thermic effect of exercise, your NEAT, your BMR, all these things. And those things are altered when your hormones get jacked up. So it messes up how many calories out you would get. So it's still the same thing. Hormones just make a difference because they affect the amount of calories out in the calories in versus calories out part of the equation. So like I said, they're the same thing. It's just widely misunderstood. People seem to think calories in versus calories out means tracking, means track your intake and track the calories in, how many calories are you burning through exercise and things like that, which those calculators are usually wildly inaccurate, and that's just not quite how it works. It's hard to gauge what actually is a calorie in versus or a calorie in calorie out equation outside of just being diligent, being consistent, and seeing how your body responds, right? Are you on a certain set of calories? Are you doing a certain amount of exercise? And are you losing weight? Okay, you're in a calorie deficit. Are you maintaining what you're not, right? Like it really is that simple. It's simple, but complex. Hopefully that makes sense. Looks like I already answered this. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go to another one. Why can't I get this to work? What am I doing wrong here? I should be able to show you my screen, but I'm failing here. Share screen. Is this working? Oh, I think I got it. Hold on. Bear with me. Kind of. It's not very big. There we go. All right. Let me hide this. Okay, so uh, I've been dieting for 6 weeks now and have started including a double refeed for the last 2 weeks. I kept the weekly calorie average the same, just lower macros 5 days. I am very consistent on tracking and weighing everything that goes into my mouth. I keep track of my weight daily so I can focus on average weight. This is all perfect. What is going on when weight starts increasing consistently, even when you're in a deficit and not on your period? Is that a sign that you probably need to reverse longer? FYI, I did a year reverse with the coach and a year on my own. Michelle, I don't know if you're here or not. If you are, please say so, because if you can give me some more detail, it'd be helpful. But it sounds like you were reverse dieting for 2 years. Correct me if I'm wrong. Which that's going to be more than enough time for anybody, which is fantastic. There could be a lot of reasons why you are finding that you're gaining. I don't know if you started gaining when you started the diet or just recently these last couple of weeks or something. A lot of times what happens when people start a diet is they find or what they do is they start, you start exercising more, you start exercising more intensely, you start changing a lot of your foods to more difficult to digest things like, fibrous foods and nutrient dense foods and cruciferous vegetables and things like that can cause a lot of bloating and swelling in your GI tract and things like that. So what you'll find is you'll gain some water weight from that and some inflammation from being sore and stuff. And that shows up on the scale, which is why we want to pay attention to more than just weight. And we want to look at pictures and measurements and pay attention to clothes fitting and things like that. That's the most common reason why someone would lower calories but see an increase on the scale. But that should go away after a few weeks. If that's not the case, something's up. I don't know what. I can't say what. I don't necessarily. It's not if it's been 2 years or even a year. It's not that you didn't reverse diet long enough. You might just need to be more aggressive. You still shouldn't be gaining weight, other than maybe you're not recovering properly and you're just beating yourself into the ground like relentlessly, and your body can't recover. So you're super inflamed and sore and things like that. Then that could be an answer. If you're not really necessarily losing body fat, but you're super inflamed, then that's going to show an increase on the scale. Or again, like if you're super bloated and stuff all the time. But other than that, you might just have to drop calories more. Everyone seems to have kind of a certain threshold that you need to get to. And a lot of times we think like, if I just keep eating calories high enough, high, that means I'll be able to cut on more calories. And that's not necessarily always the case. Sometimes it's the case, but sometimes you still need to get pretty aggressive. The difference is now it's going to work, whereas before it couldn't. And it seems like we all have this kind of like threshold we need to get to. Like you may drop 500 calories and not see a response at all, but then you drop another 150 calories or something, and then boom, things start moving because you kind of passed that threshold. So sometimes you just have to find that before you're going to start seeing results. But there's a lot about you I just don't know. Work. Here I am. Okay. I'll figure this out. Been on my first cut for the past 10 weeks. My maintenance was 2,100 calories. I started cutting at 2,600. That must be backwards. Do you have a question? I didn't see a question. Is there more? Not in here. Let me know what your question was, but I'm assuming that your maintenance was 2,600 and you started cutting at 2,100. Let me know. I used to struggle with binge eating, but through Coach Colin's vids and advice, I figured out I was in the cycle of. Sorry, I'm having a hard time this morning. I figured it was a cycle from my calories being too low and my body cramming in calories. I'm still working on the reverse diet, but not been since February. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that, man. Yeah, like, is there an emotional component to binge eating? Of course, absolutely. But it's much more prevalent 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 when you've been dieting a long time and you've had these hormonal adaptations that happen. Your leptin's going to drop, your ghrelin's going to increase, and you've got your body like screaming at you to eat more, like it wants you to, especially if you've lost a lot of weight on top of it, been very aggressive with your calorie deficit. Your body's going to do everything they can to get you to gain that weight back, and one of the ways that it does that, not only does it slow down your metabolism, but it tells you that you're hungry. So leptin has many functions, but one of the functions is telling you that you feel full. That decreases. Ghrelin is a hormone that tells you when you're hungry. That increases. So you have one telling you that you're hungry. You have another one telling you that you're never full when you do eat. You can see how it's very easy to overeat and binge when you have an extreme history of dieting or been very low calorie for a long time and things like that. So there's nothing wrong with you if you're feeling that way and you're struggling with that. This is a very normal physiological response, but you also have to understand that and be able to detach emotions from that and do what's necessary to get yourself out of that. And there's a lot of factors at play. I'm again, as I always say, I am not a eating disorder expert professional, and anyone who does struggle with that type of stuff should definitely seek out a professional. But there are physiological responses and of course a lot of mental responses to our mental factors at play. We have a tendency to eat our feelings to try to help ourselves feel better in the moment and things like that, which of course will ends up making you feel worse in the long run. But it's all about being objective with yourself. That's kind of the hardest thing, and that's why so many people do benefit from a coach. Like, I'm not trying to just plug myself all the time here. It's very true, and this is why when I have very big challenges myself, I hire coaches, because you can't, it's just so hard to be objective with yourself. We get inside of our own head and those little voices talk and we just want to listen. And it's hard to disassociate that. And this is why one of the things I do recommend when you struggle with that is talk to yourself out loud, because anything in your head is emotion, and your emotions is your feelings, and your feelings are triggered by thoughts, and your thoughts are almost never true. So when you say it out loud, it becomes logic, it becomes real. But when you stay inside your head, it's a bad situation. And thank you, Jake. I really appreciate it. Okay, here we go. I think we're getting somewhere now. Okay, my maintenance calories were 2,100, started the cut at 1,650, lost 4 pounds in 5 weeks, and then decided to take 1.5 week diet break. And since then, I can't lose any more weight, even when I drop my calories another 150. Do I need to be more aggressive, or is it time to stop and reverse diet? I don't think you need to. Well, I mean, first of all, I don't know how long you were at these higher calories previously, which is a big thing. But if you were in a good spot metabolically to start, and you saw results for about 5 weeks and now you've been stuck, I think you could probably keep going. You just might have to get more aggressive. And then also, this isn't a knock on you at all. I don't know anything about you, but also be very, again, objective with yourself in how consistent are you being. One of the things that we all struggle with, myself included, is sometimes we feel like we're doing well with a plan, but we're really not. We're kind of like eyeballing a lot more than usual, and not counting for some things here and there, and slipping extra bites and nibbles and tastes, or not counting our cheats on the weekend. Again, I talk about how I don't like the term cheat and all that. I'm not going to get into that right now, but these big overeating episodes we can have sometimes on the weekends that we kind of turn a blind eye to, and things like that. So like, that's step number one. Like, make sure you're being diligent and staying on plan. And you very well might be, but if you're not, that's step number one. Okay, just really be sure that you are staying. If you are, then yeah, I would get a bit more aggressive. Maybe add in some cardio, maybe like 30-60 minutes of cardio for the week on top of another maybe like 10% calorie reduction, if you can realistically stick to that, and then see. And then if it's just not there, then maybe you do need to reverse. But after just that short amount of time, I wouldn't think so, unless you decided to cut too soon and hadn't put yourself in a good spot metabolically yet, and then in which that would make more sense. keep in mind too, like, are you taking pictures? Are you looking at them objectively? Are you taking measurements? Are you paying attention to how clothes are fitting? I don't know your start. Like maybe you're recomping. Maybe you didn't do much training, and then what a lot of people do is they kind of just don't really train very much until it's time to start cutting, and then they dial it up because they get excited, they get motivated, and then what happens is you start building muscle because you weren't doing much, and you may weigh the same, but you may look better. That is not abnormal at all. So that's another thing to look at as well. Glad I've been able to help, man. Never been cut. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's a little bizarre. One would think that you should be able to lose here, but like I said, there could be a lot of reasons. So, like I said, step number one, just make sure you're really sticking to things. Make sure you're eating enough protein. And if you're not weighing out your food and stuff like that, I would do that. Like, it's not like being like super diligent down to the gram and all the stuff is not a great long-term plan for most people. But I can't remember if it was my last video or the one that I have coming up. I talked about this, how you like do it for a week just to really just make sure, right? Because otherwise you're gonna have to get pretty aggressive, and we want to see. So if you take a week and just say, I'm going to measure everything that I eat down to the gram on a food scale. I'm going to not take any extra bites or nibbles or tastes or anything else. I'm going to prepare all my own food, and I'm just going to really hit everything 100% dead on just to see, okay, is this really my maintenance calories or not? A lot of the time, when people do this, boom, they start seeing some good results because now they're actually hitting those numbers, whereas before they weren't. And then two, it also kind of gives you a better idea of what things actually look like, and it's just to gauge that. And then at that point, you'll know a bit better what it actually looks like, and you can kind of back off being so hardcore unless you want to continue to see results. So hopefully that helps. You're very welcome. So did first diet break, came back to cutting, and today I had a loss of whoa. You lost 8 pounds in a day? Did I read that right? Came back to cutting, and today I had a loss of, I'm assuming that's probably over a larger period of time, but regardless, very glad to hear that it was helpful. Yeah, diet breaks are so underrated. I keep saying it over and over. We can't pound ourselves into the ground. The body fights too hard. It doesn't work. It's gonna fight you. We need to give it a reason to back off. And so many people look at diet breaks as some sort of like setback or negative thing, when not only are they not a setback, but they might be the very thing that helps you actually get to where you want to be in the long run and keep the process working so your body doesn't fight too hard, and it slows down or minimizes some of the adaptations. You're not going to be able to stop from your metabolism adapting, from your hormones adapting and slowing down and stuff, but you can minimize it more this way, retain more lean body mass. You get the mental benefit of being able to enjoy more food, and they're just so helpful. And, I've had people reach out before. They're like, I have dieted without a break for 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, a year. And then it's, hey, like, first of all, at that much time, you probably need to reverse, but you could always try to take a diet break and come back. And they're so scared to do it because they just don't want to gain weight for even like a week. And a lot of times people don't even gain weight or even lose weight, but that's besides the point. It doesn't matter. Like if you gain a little glycogen during a diet break for a week, we can't get so caught up in the short term stuff. We got to think big picture, and diet breaks are so helpful to make the process work, and could be the very thing that is missing from so many people's plans to actually get them to a place where they can finally reach their goals versus constantly getting stuck. So anyway, I went on a little side rant there, but congratulations on 94 pounds lost. That is fantastic. That's amazing. Congrats to you and your husband. It sounds like you've got a ways to go, but you know what? That's okay. You've helped me realize that getting to goal weight and finding maintenance will be possible once I get there. Yeah. And so what I was going to say was, don't worry about how far you have to go, and understand that no matter what, it has to be a lifestyle. You have to put in effort for the rest of your life. Again, that doesn't mean low calories diet all the time, kill yourself for the rest of your life, but you have to make it a lifestyle. You always have to have some sort of awareness with nutrition and live an active, healthy lifestyle to keep your results. And there's no rush. You got all the time in the world. You have your whole life. So you're gonna have to take it in phases. Like you're not this. I can pretty much promise you that if you have lost 94 pounds but have 140 to go, you're not going to get this 140 pounds off in this go. You're going to be able to go for a while. Eventually, it's going to stop. Either your body won't respond anymore, or you just will be completely mentally over it, which is fine, or can't make any more adjustments realistically. That's fine. Now you stop. Now you reverse diet. Then you go to kind of like a rough maintenance phase. You do that for a long period of time, get your metabolism back into a better place, and then you go after the next push, right? And then you lose a bunch more weight, and then you're going to have to shift focus again. And it's going to take cycles of this, but you'll eventually get there if you keep doing that. What most people do, unfortunately, is I got to get all the way there. I got to get there. I got to get there. And if they don't, they go, screw it. It's not worth it. And then just jump right into binging and overeating like crazy because they just get depressed about it. And they do so from a position where their metabolism's tanked and they gain the weight back in a heartbeat. And it's just a never ending cycle that just makes you fatter and fatter and fatter over the years. And it's just, oh man, it just breaks my heart to see. So yeah. Big picture, and keep doing what you're doing. That's amazing, and congratulations. Over the span of a month. Okay, yeah, there you go. That's a good pace. So well done. I'm glad that the diet break was helpful, and I'll just keep going. It makes me so happy. What do you do after cutting? Do we jump straight eating back at our maintenance? So understand that your maintenance calories is a moving target. I've been having this discussion a lot lately. So your maintenance calories isn't some static number. And whatever your maintenance calories were before you start a cut is not going to be your maintenance calories after a cut. Because for one, you've lost weight, so you just have less energy demand now. So there's that. And then two, the metabolic slowdowns that happen, the metabolism, the hormones and stuff that get out of whack and all that happens during the dieting is going to suppress all that. And that's why I recommend reverse dieting out from there, gradually increasing your calories to give your body time to keep up with the increase in calories, to get your maintenance calories back up to a more reasonable place while minimizing the amount of fat they gain during the process. If you jump up too fast, too quick, your body won't be able to handle it as well. And you just will be more likely to gain fat. But it depends on what your goals are, where your position was when you stopped the cut. So what I mean by that is, let's just say, for instance, you're stopping a cut, but when you stop the cut, you've been losing weight really well as you stop the cut. Well, then we know your maintenance calories is much higher than whatever you were eating because you were losing weight. So then you can more safely make a big increase in calories and jump right up to maintenance calories if you would like. If you have completely stalled out by the time you stop a cut, well, then jumping up calories really high quickly is much more dangerous if you don't want to gain body fat quickly because that means your metabolism has adapted down more. I do have a video about how fast to increase calories after a cut. Let me see if I can find that. Here we go. Because yeah, it really depends on what your goals are. Remember, the faster you increase calories, the more likely you are to gain, but the faster you're going to feel better, be able to enjoy more food, more balance and flexibility, improve your hormones, all that type of stuff. But you're more likely to gain weight. The slower you increase, the less likely you are to gain, but the longer it's going to take to get all those benefits. So I can't tell you what's most important to you, and there is no right or wrong. And it depends. Are you just trying to maintain? Are you trying to go into a building phase? Are you looking to come back to a cut again down the road? Are you just trying to maintain? There's so many factors at play, so I can never just give a generic answer. But here's the video I mentioned. Hopefully that goes through, and that might be helpful for you. But you can usually make a bigger increase off the bat of the end of a cut. Like almost like I usually would recommend at least a 100 calorie increase at the end of any cut, because remember too, like you are going to start increasing your like when you bump it up, you're going to start recovering better. You're going to have more energy. You're going to improve your hormones and things like that. So your body will kind of uptick a little bit faster. Absolutely, Chris. Thoughts on losing the last 8 to 10 pounds in a month and a half? I worked out every day and eat very healthy. What are the options for someone who'd like to have you as a coach? Uh, so I don't know how much weight you have to lose, Valerie, or excuse me, I don't know how much you weigh right now. I don't recommend losing more than 1% of your weight on average per week, because then, especially if you've been dieting for a while too, because now you're already in a position where your hormones are out of whack, and you're risking losing more lean body mass and things like that. And that's the major risk of going over 1%, is you're just more likely to lose lean body mass at that point. So I don't recommend 8 to 10 pounds in a month and a half if you are relatively petite, but for a lot of people that'd be reasonable. But and again, you just don't want to get caught up in that, because you just never know how your body is going to respond. What's most important is execute the plan, see how things go, adjust according to that. Rather than getting caught up in a time frame outside of, sometimes it's beneficial to have that deadline, just because sometimes we really struggle to stick to the plan if you don't have a deadline. If you're not someone who can just continue to follow the plan, sometimes just going, okay, like I have 6 weeks left. I know the end is coming in 6 weeks. I can do this for 6 weeks. Like, I can do anything for 6 weeks, right? So like you dial it in because you know that end is coming and you stay on plan. Whereas if you don't know when the end is coming and you feel like it's going to take forever, then you may fall into, well, I don't really know what's the point. I might as well just kind of have a little bit more fun and this and that and the other. And it can just kind of have a lot of ups and downs, and then you have to get that much more aggressive. It takes that much longer, and it just turns into a nightmare. So really, as always, it depends. Not sure what you mean by what are the options for someone who'd like me as a coach. Everything's online, and I do have nutrition. So nutrition only, which still comes with how much cardio to do, or I have training and nutrition, which is the same thing, but it also includes your strength training programming as well. I technically have training only, but pretty much nobody wants that. But yeah, I mean, if you are interested, just like I said, go to ColinDeWaayTraining.com and fill out an application, and I'll shoot a video giving you some of my thoughts, and we can take it from there. All right, where were we? Very welcome. I'm on a 1,600 calorie cut. Up to my cardio this week, I really noticed increased hunger. I drink minimum 100 ounces of water and consume 20 grams of fiber a day. What can I do to manage? Make sure you're eating enough protein. Protein's number one, as I mentioned earlier. That's just the biggest thing. 20 grams of fiber is a pretty decent amount for 1,600. You could go higher. Fiber, much like protein, has both a high thermic effect of food and helps with hunger. Too much fiber can have some issues like gastrointestinal stress, gassiness, bloating, constipation, things like that. Everyone's different. Some people can handle tons of fiber and be fine. Other people can only do a little bit. So knowing how your body responds is one thing too, but I usually recommend 1 to 2 grams of fiber for every 100 calories you eat. So if you're at 1,600 calories, that'd be 16 to 32 grams of fiber. So you could bump it up to maybe like 30 grams of fiber. Make sure you're eating a good amount of protein, and that can help. And other than that, sometimes the best thing you can do for hunger, honestly, is just accept that hunger is going to be a part of the process. And, I have a video about this, about how to combat hunger or something like that, or fight hunger or beat hunger or whatever. And it's just one of those things, like at some point, hunger is going to be an issue. And for a lot of people, unfortunately, they have a hard time not eating when they're hungry. They just kind of feel like, well, I'm hungry, therefore I have to eat. And it's like, no, you don't have to eat because you're hungry. Like, I understand the desire to want to eat when you're hungry, because nobody likes to feel hungry, but you don't have to. And what I have found for myself and a lot of people is you actually feel less hungry when you finally just accept that hunger is a part of the process, and you don't have to eat. Like, just going, okay, like I'm hungry, but I got to deal with it. It's part of the process, is to be expected. And that helps. Whereas if you're trying to chase it all the time, it's almost like it makes it worse. What I mean by chase it is like try to like eat all these different things to help you feel full. Like, and these can be good options. I'm not saying they're not, but things like sugar-free Jell-O can take up a lot of space for like almost no calories, and things like pickles and shoveling like spinach down your mouth and things like that. Things that are very low calorie. But by doing that, by chasing it, it's like it's always on your mind. Like, I'm so hungry. I need to try to make it go away. I'm so hungry. Eat, eat, eat. Oh, I'm so hungry. It's on your mind all the time. And that just makes you even hungrier because you're so focused on trying to make the hunger go away that it's just like always in the forefront. Whereas if you just go, I'm hungry, it sucks. What are you going to do about it? It kind of goes away. And hunger does go away. Like when you're hungry, if you don't eat and you just go, I'm just not going to eat, it goes away. Like it does. I had an experiment. Obviously, this isn't going to be the same for everybody, but when I had my Science of Weight Management course at the University of South Florida, one of the assignments was to actually go on a 30+ hour fast. And the thing was, like, you didn't have to actually fast for 30 hours. You just had to try. And if you couldn't complete it, you just had to explain why. So like you could get a good grade whether you did well or not with the fasting. But the point was to try to, we have a tendency to, we hear things like, well, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and don't eat before bed or whatever else, right? And we kind of like are taught these things at an early age that we're supposed to eat or not eat at certain times. And it's like, by doing this, you can pay attention to your hunger signals throughout the course of a day and see when you actually are hungry or not. Because like, for instance, if you're someone who is like me, who is never hungry in the morning, but you force yourself to eat in the morning because you're told that it's so important to do so, well, now you're eating all these calories when you're not even hungry, and then you're probably still going to be hungry later on in the day anyways, and now you're eating more calories than you would have because you force yourself to eat when you're not hungry. So it's like, okay, let's pay attention to when you're actually hungry or not. So anyways, what I found during that was, so I cut off my eating like 10 the night before, woke up the next morning like normal. So this was a normal, at this point it was still normal, didn't eat. Then I would normally eat around lunch, was actually pretty fine. And then around like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I got like ravenously hungry, like super hungry. 10 minutes later, I wasn't hungry anymore at all. And then like an hour or two later, I got really hungry again. And then 10 or 20 minutes later, the hunger was gone. And that kind of like repeated throughout the course of the day. So I think throughout the 24 hours of being awake, or the 16 hours or whatever being awake, I think I was really hungry for like 3 or 4 of those times, but it always went away each time. And then the thing that was really interesting as a side note, when I woke up the next morning, having not ate now for, let's see, 24, 30, 32 hours, I still wasn't hungry the next morning, which really shows that like, okay, like I'm not wrong in that I'm not hungry in the morning. I went an entire day and then some and still woke up in the morning not hungry, because it's just, that's a time of day that's not hungry for me. So it would be foolish for me to force myself to eat during that time, because even if I do, I'm still going to be really hungry at night. I'm someone who's hungry at night. I always have been, ever since I was, even as a kid. So I like to have a big snack meal, whatever you want to call it, before I go to bed each day. And whether I eat in the morning or not, I'm still going to be really hungry during that time. So you can see how forcing yourself to eat during a certain time when you're not hungry is not really very beneficial for your goals. So very long-winded answer, but hopefully it was helpful. And the biggest thing is just always remember, like, yes, there's things we can do to help with hunger, but the best thing you can do is just remember that the hunger will go away and you don't have to eat. It's not fun, but it's also kind of a necessary evil. Like if you're going to lose weight, like you're just going to have to deal with some hunger. No way around it. Yeah, don't pay attention to any of those scales or numbers or equations or anything else. They're not accurate and they mean nothing. The best thing you can do is just be consistent, see how your body responds, and adjust accordingly. That's what matters. So I mean, like, even if somebody's starting a cutting phase from the ground zero, you could go in and take like some sort of TDEE calculator or a macro calculator of some sort, and it can spit out some numbers and you can try it and see. But just because it says that doesn't mean you're going to lose on it. It might, a lot of times it's way too much for a lot of people, I have found. So the best thing you can do is get a more accurate representation of how much you're actually consuming, and then make the adjustments to start your cut. I have a video called how to adjust macros when cutting, I think, that walks you through how to reduce calories to start, how to make adjustments throughout your cutting phase, and all that type of stuff that would be more helpful. So yeah, don't ever pay attention, in my opinion, to any calculators, including how many calories you're burning through exercise and stuff like that. They're just not accurate and not valuable. The best value, I know I keep saying it, but it is true. The best value is being consistent, monitoring and adjusting. Because it doesn't matter what anything says, what you're actually consuming is going to tell you everything you need to know. Going to lose some more body fat. Scale says I'm about 32%. Yeah, I mean, like I said, be consistent, monitor, and adjust. Ooh, they're coming in. Where am I here? Currently in a reverse after a cut, but I think being too cautious on the increase in calories, 50 every other week, having crazy hunger pains, what level to increase would you try? You could definitely start with 50 every week. But again, it really kind of comes down to, I don't like static increases. I keep saying that because I don't. It doesn't mean it can't be used, but it's just, I am a much bigger fan of monitoring and adjusting. Broken record here. So increase calories, what's happening with your weight in your body? Okay, it's going well. You can increase a little bit more or less or whatever according to how things are going. But yeah, 50 every other week is a pretty slow pace, but it always just kind of depends. And again, the faster you increase, the faster these things are going to improve. But the more likely you are to gain body fat, the slower, the longer it's going to take, the less likely you are. I can't tell anybody what's most important to them. Only you can do that. But then you have to accept what that means, right? Like if you're just like, I want to minimize body fat as much as I can, then you're going to have to deal with a lot of, and a lot of times too, the hunger is much worse in a reverse diet, especially the early phases of a reverse diet, than they are during the cut. This is very common. It's not abnormal. There's nothing wrong with you if you feel that way. It's very, very normal. And I think it's both physiological from hormones and stuff, and also psychological too, because it's like sometimes it's easier to deal with hunger in a cut because you're like, okay, I'm losing weight, like it's worth it because I'm losing, I'm improving body composition. But then when you switch, now you're not trying to lose anymore, and now your goal literally becomes, you're thinking about increasing calories. Your goal becomes eat more food. Well, again, whatever's on your mind. You see what I'm saying? So it's very normal, but if you want to help with that, faster increases is definitely going to happen. It'll help faster. It might still take time. I don't really know, but it will help. I'm afraid I'm stuck at 27% body fat with 1,200 calories per day maintenance. Is that theoretic possible? Yes, it's absolutely possible. I subscribed yesterday, by the way. Your info is way above average. Well, thank you. Yeah, so I mean, it can seem like it's crazy that at a certain body fat that you could maintain on such low calories, but it's absolutely possible. Again, it's your body just doing its job. It's adapting. It's protecting against starvation. So if you go really low calorie for a long period of time, especially if you have a long history of it, it's going to guard against it, regardless of what your body fat is. Again, be objective with yourself. Make sure that you're really sticking to the plan and being on top of it. There is a study that was done that I can reference either my last one or my one that's coming up, that took obese people who claimed that they couldn't lose weight on 1,200 calories, and then they actually monitored them, and they're on average, they were consuming double the amount of calories that they said they were. So they were eating 1,200. They said they were eating 1,200. They're eating more like 2,400. And not only that, but they were actually burning less calories through exercise than they thought they were too. So we're just not very good as humans as accurately accounting for our intake. So that's always step number one. Like, make sure that you're really being accountable with it and tracking diligently and sticking to the plan. All right. Now, if you are, I'm not saying you're not, you very well might be, and if you are and you can't see results, then yeah, it's time to shift focus, reverse diet, get yourself back into a better place and come back down the road from a better position, and take it in phases. Remember, no matter what, it's got to be lifestyle. But whatever you do, don't fall into, I'm eating so low calorie and I can't lose weight. What's the point? And then just eating like crazy, because your 27% is going to go to 32% in a hurry. You know what I mean? And I don't want that for you. And health still matters. It always matters. So it sucks. It's no fun, but know that you're not alone, and there is a way out. You got to be patient. So it's a big thing that's missing from so many people's plan or success plan or whatever you want to call it. 1 second here. Okay, next. Tips for increasing fiber intake, especially insoluble. I find it difficult when I usually have 2 or 3 larger meals per day and no snacks. Um, well, uh, hold on. I've got a list over here of foods that I typically recommend, just so I don't have to go off of memory. So some foods that are higher in fiber: fruits, vegetables, beans, lentils, whole grains, whole wheat, oats. Popcorn is a very underrated source of fiber and carbs. It's just the trouble with popcorn is what you tend to put on it, but popcorn itself is fantastic. Um, Baked potato with skin is decent, like bran cereals, and even just like bars, like Fiber One bars and things like that. Some people don't digest them quite very well, but they can be helpful. Um, so hopefully that helps. But yeah, if you're not doing snacks, it does make it more difficult to add those like little bars and stuff in. And actually not doing snacks, I think, is actually a really good plan for a lot of people, myself included. But veggies are typically going to be your best source. At 1450 calories currently, new calculated maintenance would be at, yeah, again, so I talked about this earlier, you probably weren't around, but I really don't recommend going off of calculated maintenance calories based off of any types of equations. They're just so wildly inaccurate, and set people up for trouble. That might be your maintenance calories when you get there. It might be well short of your maintenance calories. It might be well above. Like, you don't know. Everyone's so different. Like I've had people who are almost the same white, the same weight, same height, same age, everything. And one person might only get up to 1,500 calories. The other one might get up to 2,500 calories. Genetics matter. Activity levels matter. Your lifestyle, like all these different things. There's just not one set of rules for everybody. So you may be able to get well above that. And if you can, then that is great. But you also might find that you can't get to that. And if you try to force it to that, then you're going to gain a lot of weight because it's well above your normal genetic metabolism. One thing that is misunderstood often about reverse dieting is that people think that reverse dieting means you can just get your calories almost as high as you want as long as you take it slowly. And it's like, no, reverse dieting undoes the suppression in your metabolism from dieting, but it doesn't bring you past your normal genetic potential outside of any lean body mass that's built during that process. So like that's the only way you can actually improve your metabolism beyond its genetic baseline is by building muscle. It's the only way. And people are so afraid to lift weights. And especially because they get caught up in you gain a little bit of weight. Like, that's not bad. Not all weights created equal. Weight from muscle is a very, very, very good thing. It's so helpful across the board. And, especially for a female, you don't have to worry about getting bulky from it. It's not going to happen by accident. That's usually, people will say, well, I don't want a lifter's body. I want a runner's body. But it's usually their perception of what a runner's body is actually a lifter's body. They just don't understand or realize that. And the thing you need to remember too is, like, even if you are someone who is genetically like gifted for building muscle and you can pack on muscle like crazy, you can always stop lifting. Like, if you feel like you've built too much muscle, then just don't lift and you'll lose it, right? Like, it doesn't stay on forever. So another side rant. All right, I was pretty aggressive at the start of my reverse, and my body responded well. I increased calories by 300, and I'm still managed to drop a pound after my first week. Amazing! It's going very well. That is very amazing. That doesn't usually happen, but it can. And again too, like if it's the start of if you finished a cut and then you started a reverse and you were in a deficit when you stopped the cut, well then 300 calories can very easily be maintenance or even still below maintenance. So we always need context. But yeah, so that's why we monitor and adjust. So you made a big increase, you're able to still drop. You can make another nice increase, and eventually that's going to kind of slow down, but you can adjust accordingly. If you don't eat when you're hungry, how do you best meet your macros? I'm not usually that hungry in the morning too, but if I'm going to hit my protein goal for the day, I need to start in the morning. Let me make sure I'm understanding this right. So I think in your case, Marcus, and especially since I personally know what you're doing, I think what you're dealing with is you have a hard time getting your protein / calories in if you don't eat when you're hungry. So the best way to help with if you're finding that you're too full to get all your macros slash calories in, a lot of times this happens because we come from histories of clean eating type of backgrounds, and we can be afraid to include things that aren't quote unquote clean. So we start increasing our calories through nothing but hard to digest, nutrient dense whole foods. And all these foods are great, of course, but they're also very filling. That's part of what makes them so beneficial for losing weight, is because it helps you keep your calories down. But if you do nothing but increase through lean sources of protein and vegetables and things that are really hard to digest and filling, it's going to be hard to get your calories up. So sometimes including a little bit of junk into your diet is fine, obviously in moderation. Or even if you don't want to do that, you make substitutes. Instead of whole grain, like instead of brown rice, you eat white rice or jasmine rice. Instead of sweet potato, you eat a white potato or whatever else, right? Like things that just aren't so filling. And then with protein, just bigger portion sizes during your meal is probably your best bet. Protein shakes, a lot of people are afraid of protein shakes for some reason. They're very helpful and good, and there's nothing wrong with them. And like when my goal was to get on stage for the first and probably only time ever, I was going to spend 2 years working on building muscle and then dieting down. And I wanted to do everything I could to build as much muscle as possible. Well, you can make the argument that at least 4 meals spread apart is probably a little bit more optimal for building muscle. So I wanted to do everything I could. So when I wasn't hungry in the morning, I would just slam a protein shake first thing in the morning, because it was easier to get down than trying to eat like egg whites or something like that early in the morning. So that was how I get a little bit more protein in, and it didn't bother me too much. I'd still would rather not do that, but that was a way to do it as well. But a lot of times it just comes down to bigger portions. So like if you're eating 4 ounces of chicken breast, eat 6-7 ounces, you know what I mean? Touching up on what you said about feeling like you don't want to lose any more weight while on a reverse. If you want to bulk after reverse, how would you make that transition? Speaking in terms of macros. So you just have you take a little bit more of an aggressive approach, meaning that you increase calories faster, because now you're not trying to minimize weight gain. You're trying to actually specifically build muscle, and you want to make sure you're fueling it properly to optimally build. So you want to make sure you're in a small calorie surplus. So it's like if you would normally make a 50 calorie increase, maybe you make a 100 calorie increase or something like that, and make sure that you're in a surplus. I have a video, I think I referenced this last time, but I'm going to do it again. I can show you here. I'm figuring it out. So let's go. I know lean bulk is in the title. Analytics. Sorry about that. So reverse diet to lean bulk, macros included. So this video, my man, would be very helpful for you, I think. Reverse diet to lean bulk. Now. Okay, got it. All right, where are we? Have you ever tried oats, protein powder, and grated zucchini? I have been having it more often as of late, and it's pretty bomb. I have not had oats with grated zucchini, but I have had oats with protein powder a lot. In fact, that's something I do quite frequently in a cutting phase. Is I'll make a big bowl of, I like steel cut oats. I make them in the Instant Pot, and then just add I add Core Nutritionals. Shout out to Core Nutritionals. Use code Colin for for a discount. I use their peanut butter chocolate isolate whey protein and mix it in, and man, is it good. Oh man, that's good. I might actually have to have that tonight. I started a new training program this week, and I'm so sore from leg day 2 days ago. I plan on walking and lifting upper body today. Any other proven ideas to help with the soreness? You've already got it. Going for walks and loosening things up can certainly help. Some people swear by Epsom salt baths and stuff. I've never found it personally for myself, but even if there's a placebo effect, I mean, it still works, right? But the biggest thing is you're just going to have to give it some time and just keep following the program. Just make sure you probably heard me talk about this before, Kim, but you don't want to delay your next leg day beyond when it's supposed to go just because you're sore, because then you're giving your body more time to recover, and it's going to think it has more time to recover. So you want to stick with it so that when you lift through being sore, your body realizes it has to recover quicker, so it won't be as sore and just get used to the new routine. So anytime you change your routine like that, especially exercises and stuff, you're going to have some of that soreness, but it'll go away. So so if anybody has any suggestions, please get on here. But for me, it's always just been suck it up and get through it, and keep lifting, and in time it'll get better. Yeah, but staying up and moving around is definitely helpful. If you just sit all day long and then get up, you're gonna be hurting. Yeah, I might actually start doing that myself too. I haven't squatted in forever. I'm slightly contemplating maybe trying to get back into squats and deadlifts here. I'm glad I decided to start increasing my calories, even though I'm a very small woman. 1,200 calories simply is not enough. No, it usually isn't. I felt I was losing brain power for work as well. Not enough to 1,400 calories. Got it up to, I'm assuming. That's great. Yeah, keep it going. Absolutely. You're not wrong that being on low calorie and stuff will absolutely mess up your mind. And have you not functioning, and kind of have brain fog, and people call it diet brain. It's a real thing. It absolutely is. All right. Ooh, what do we got? Went to an all-inclusive for lunch for a week, left the scale at home, no counting calories. I had fun, ate what I wanted sometimes, and also made good decisions sometimes. Try to complete a set. Oop, that's a question. So I guess that was it. That's great, man. It's awesome. 1 week is never going to make or break anything, and just letting go. And like I usually say is, you can go out and have fun and enjoy your vacation and be just fine, as long as you don't fall into, well, I'm off plan, so let me binge my face off, eat till I feel sick to my stomach, and then still eat some more because I'm off plan. Like, that's where you're going to get in trouble. But a lot of times we're typically more active on trips and stuff like that, and we burn a lot more calories, and we'll be just fine. Your scale might be up for a couple days. When you get back, it comes back down. And even if it's not, life is all about experiences and memories. Very welcome, Marcus. Oh, wait. Already back to starting weight. Okay, I didn't see this. Yes, thank you. So already back to starting weight 5 days after returning and resuming my reverse. Yeah, I mean, that is what happens most of the time. And that's what, like I just said, a lot of times you'll come back and the scale will be elevated. You get like that vacation bloat, extra water, glycogen, kind of travel and stuff like that. Excuse me. But it does start coming back down over time. And even if it doesn't, that's okay. We just get back on track and move forward. Nothing you do in a week can make or break anything ever. You can't screw anything up. You just get back at it. And then even if you do want to like completely binge your face off, that's fine, as long as you're okay with gaining weight, right? Like a lot of people will say that. They'll go, I don't mind. I'm going to eat as much as I want, drink as much as I want, because, experiences are more important, which I completely agree with. And then they say, I don't care if I gain some weight, until they get back home and they gain some weight and completely freak out and then try to starve themselves back down. And then it just gets ugly. So you have to be okay with it. Very welcome. I try to complete a set rep goal before increasing reps or weight the following week. Sometimes I have to rest pause to hit the reps, progress up the next week, or repeat until I can without rest pausing. Either's fine. Like I said earlier in this stream, you're not going to be able to make increases each week. And sometimes you will, and sometimes you won't. Rest pauses can be beneficial, though. I actually used to really like them a lot. I should probably start including them more. But yeah, I think that's a good strategy. Hey man, I finished with my diet and would like to know, I fast to cut down on cardio. Is it how fast to cut down on cardio? Currently doing an hour and a half of cycling 5 days a week, and should I add calories congruently? So yeah, you're going to slowly, gradually increase your calories up, slowly taper your cycling down. How fast, it just kind of depends on how things are going. And I do have a video, an old one, about how to handle cardio in a reverse. I think it's called reverse diet cardio. But it depends on what you're trying to accomplish, right? So are you trying to just get down and get to a spot where you're happy with the amount of cardio you're doing and try to roughly maintain? Because then you're just going to get it down to whatever that is for you, whether that's 3 hours a week or an hour or whatever. I mean, everyone's different. But if you're trying to get down to a more optimal position to cut again down the road, then we want to get it down more. But really, I mean, so you can knock off, say you knock off like 15 minutes from each session the first week, and then just see how things go, and also, as well as increasing calories. And if you're maintaining well, then you can keep that going. Or if you're still losing, you can go get a little bit more aggressive and just adjust based on how things are going as you taper it down. I will, maybe. Do I have any video? Do I have a video, any info on muscle cramps during workouts? I do not. Glutes, deadlifts, pecs during bench press. I don't. Make sure that you're well hydrated, but also getting enough sodium. Those would probably be some of the more common reasons that would happen. A lot of times sodium is looked at as a bad thing, but sodium is actually very beneficial for performance. And if you don't have enough sodium, you're gonna suffer and possibly cramp up. So check that out. Maybe drink like a Powerade Gatorade or something in the middle. If you don't want the calories, just do a 0-calorie one to help. And make sure you're warming up properly. But yeah, that's the best I got. Is it safe to reverse 50 calories per 5 days? And what is your opinion on a 70? So again, it comes down to how things are going and adjusting and what your goals are. Like safe, and I don't mean this negatively, but safe doesn't really make sense, right? Like, what does that mean, safe? Like, I guess I'm assuming you mean without gaining weight. Depends. I don't know where you're at. I don't know where you're at metabolically. I don't know your history. I don't know what you've been doing. I don't know how consistent you are. All you can do is be consistent, monitor, and adjust. I should just have that on my banner here. But yeah, and again, it's that balance. The faster you increase, the more likely to gain. The slower, like I've been saying it over and over and over again. So you definitely can. How your body will respond, I don't know. But don't. And this goes for everyone. Don't be afraid of making some sort of change because you're not sure how it's going to go. Just make the change and then just see. And then you can adjust after that, right? Like you definitely don't want to stay where you're at because you're worried about it. How do you adjust macros on rest days while on a reverse? I don't change my macros based on training days or rest days. I know a lot of people do. In fact, when I was with Paul, he gave me training day and non-training day macros. I don't like it. I'm not saying it's bad. I like the simplicity of just keeping things the same and just doing that, or having a couple of maybe higher day calories just to enjoy the weekend for the psychological benefit. But I would just much prefer just to keep it the same. Don't have to worry about how many calories am I supposed to eat today and this and that. And I just do it the same. And in the grand scheme of things, at the end of the week, it's not going to matter. Maybe you're in a little bit more of a deficit or surplus one day and a little bit less the other, but balances out. You don't have the same energy demands every day. If you find benefit in having more food on your training days to fuel performance, great, but that's less likely to be an issue in a reverse because your calories are already high anyway. So as long as the short answer is, as long as your macros are the same on average per 7 days for the week, it doesn't matter. So I wouldn't adjust them at all if you haven't been. If you would prefer to and eat a little bit more, a little bit less, you can, but that's not something that I personally do much for people unless they really like that. By the way, can you put these kind of answers in YouTube Shorts? So if you're not following me on Instagram, do that because I have been posting them there and Facebook, but it's basically the same content to be honest with you. Most of them are too long to be shorts because I am a long-winded answering kind of person because I don't like to leave out details. Shorts have to be less than a minute. I have considered maybe taking some of the the ones that I think are better, more relevant to you, you being the person who watches my channel. in making them, but I don't want to like dumb down my content, if that makes sense. Like that's my kind of my concern. I kind of would rather make my content, my longer videos that go into good detail and stuff here. And then if you like the shorter stuff like this, follow my Instagram because I've been posting more frequently there. These short little answers to each question. Maybe at some point I'll start experimenting with putting some of them into my actual YouTube channel. And let me know, like, I would like to hear. I know there's only 26 of you watching right now, but if you could let me know if you would be interested in me putting breakdowns of some of the answers, some of the ones that I think are better or more relevant, into a video or two per week on the actual YouTube channel, if you would like that or not, or if you think that would kind of like dumb it down or whatever, let me know. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. I guess the best thing I could do would be just experiment and see. And if everybody says, what is this crap, screw you, I could stop doing it. But I don't know. I like to make my content better for YouTube, if that makes sense. I want to know if reverse dieting with a 2-week at a time approach followed by a mini cut and repeating that would help me see improvement in metabolism along with fat loss over 6 months. No, you don't want to do that. That's going to create like a mini yo-yo effect. And you're basically just going to, in my opinion, what's most likely to happen would be you would just kind of stay stuck and get nowhere and not really improve your metabolism because you're in and out of a deficit too much. And your body's going to be like, what the hell is going on here? You know, like it's going to guard against it. You're better off. If you wanted to do anything different, you could maybe give yourself more frequent breaks in the actual increases, in like maybe 2 weeks of an increase, and then wait for a week or two without making an increase, and then kind of if you're really concerned about gaining, you could do it that way. But there's no real way to both improve metabolism and reduce body fat effectively at the same time. It's a fool's game. And I'm not calling you a fool. it's not going to work. Now, do some people occasionally lose weight during a reverse? Yes, very rare. A lot of circumstances. I have a video on that too called Reversing Weight Loss. But yeah, not a good idea in my opinion. Is there anything I can do to help with the channel so we can get more content up? No, I appreciate it though, man. Just keep watching the videos, share it with others, and I tell you what, like, it's really motivating when you see the subscribers grow. And I'm trying to get better now about, I don't know if it's better, but I put a lot of effort into my content. They take a long time to do. I really wish I was more like Paul Ravella, because he can just sit in front of a camera and he's charismatic and he just shoots a video and puts it up and it's great. And I tried doing that for years. It's just not good. Like I have to put everything together. A lot of times I actually I write out an entire script ahead of time and then record it and then break it up into tons of segments and then splice it together and then edit it and overlay stuff. And it just takes a long time. So I'm trying to put less time now into the initial steps of things so that I can maybe get up a couple videos a week instead of just one. But yeah, it's a lot. I would like to get 2 videos up a week, and I'm trying to work towards that. Anyway, more videos is better. Okay. Oh, not anytime soon, my man. Not anytime soon. I think shorter highlights and Q&As are a great idea for people who miss the live stream and don't always have 90 minutes to catch up. Yeah, I should maybe just throw some up. It can't hurt, right? Question mark? Maybe? So I assume it's the same idea while on a reverse. If you go over your macros and ate more than you should have because of a special case, and just make sure to average for the week is where it should be. Yeah, for most people. If you struggle with binging behavior, then I don't recommend making it up. I would just get back on track. You can't fix the binge and restrict cycle by restricting every time you binge, and you're not going to end the binging by saying I'm just going to end the binging. You're going to end the binging by ending the restriction after the binge and just getting back on track. Otherwise, it's just a vicious cycle. But if you're someone who has a good relationship with food, a healthy relationship with the process as a whole, and you go over, and it's not going to bother you to go under for a while to make that up and work out your average then yes, absolutely, that's fine. Exactly. Yes. I want to thank you for having so many videos and information in regards to reverse dieting. It is a mind-blown moment for me to discover. I'm so happy to hear that, and you're very welcome. I also have to say the idea of averages is super helpful. Oh man, it really is a game changer, and I've noticed that for a lot of clients as well. I should throw this up every once in a while, right? Yeah, I mean, the problem with not looking at averages and just looking at singular days is it's just like it feels impossible. Like if you try to live and die, I say this all the time, you try to live and die off of singular days, you're gonna die. Like you're not gonna be perfect every day. You don't have to be perfect every day. You don't have to be perfect in a week. But if you feel like I have to be spot on every single day, as soon as you have one day that's off, now you kind of feel bad and feel guilty and you feel like you screwed things up, and then that can carry over into several other days or weeks or months, unfortunately. And it's just a bad situation. Whereas if you have the ability to go up and down in any given day and just work out the average for the week, and even then it's not even an average right down to the gram, it's usually a range. Like try to stay within 5 to 10 grams of each macro. Try to stay within a 50 calorie range by the end of the week. You know what I mean? Like maintenance calories is not a specific number. It's about 100 calories in either direction, right? Like, so if you think your maintenance calories are 1600, it's probably between 15 and 1700, right? So we don't want to get too focused on that. And by giving yourself averages, and then this is why I like averages for everything. Averages for your calories, averages for your macros, averages for your weight for the week, all these things. It takes away so much of that pressure and allows you to be so much more flexible. It can be very helpful. So I'm glad that you found that helpful and that I've been able to help in any way that makes my day. Oh, where the heck was I? Dude, it's incredible what Paul does. Like, I would be lying if I was not jealous of the way he can do that stuff. I can't. Like I said, I tried. I posted years worth of videos of me standing in front of a camera, and it's the camera presence wasn't good. The delivery wasn't good. It just, and my channel didn't grow, and rightfully so. It wasn't good content. And I had to have like a real talk with myself at one point and honest assessment and say, okay, would I watch my own channel? And this was a few years ago. And I was like, no, I wouldn't. This isn't good. And I had to really kind of reevaluate things and kind of start fresh. And like, Paul can probably do 5 videos time-wise in the amount of time that I do like one, if even one video. And I'm not saying like I'm jealous, or well, I guess I am jealous, but I'm not saying like I'm I feel like he's lucky or whatever else. No, he's just really good at everything he does. He's one of those guys. He's really good at everything he does. And maybe I'll get there at some point, but I would rather take the time to put up a good video versus put up some crap multiple times a week. And my old videos were crap. They just weren't good. Oh, thank you. Hey, new profile picture. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Oh, well, this isn't about competition. I'm never going to think I'm anywhere near as good as Paul, but I appreciate it. I'm just fortunate to know somebody who's so nice and kind and caring and so freaking brilliant. He has helped me in ways I can't even imagine to become a better coach. That would take a long time, but yeah, it's possible. What is your opinion on the indirect calorim? What? I don't even know how to say that, let alone what it is. But I did one. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so basically like a test to get your kind of like rough maintenance calories, so to speak. I'm forgetting the word for it myself now. They had it at the lab at USF where I was. Well, it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's going to be the most accurate thing you can do. And again, it's still not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But again, like it's overkill to me because, again, all you're doing, if any test you take or any calculation you get, no matter how accurate or inaccurate it is, it's just giving you a number to start and see how it's going, right? So it's like no matter what, you can just pick any random number in the world. You could, like, I wouldn't recommend that, but you could, and just adjust based on that. I have tons of videos about how to adjust calories and macros and stuff. You can just follow those. And so it's like, do you want to pay and go in and take the time and do all this stuff to try to get yourself a rough maintenance calories, or especially if you're already maintaining your weight, just take the next week, eat the same, and then take an average for that week, and then boom, there you go, there's your rough maintenance calories. You know what I mean? Like, why go through all that? It's unnecessary, unless you just think it's cool and want to do it. Thank you. Yeah, those are tricky. Just because I don't like to. I mean, I'm sure most of my clients would be willing. Not all of them. Some people are pretty private. Um, it's easier to do after the fact. Um, Once somebody has had the full long-term success, to have somebody be on board with putting their stuff out there. But nobody wants to be displayed as they gain weight. You know what I mean? Another part is realizing that even if you were a precise example, 86 grams of chicken, it may have different ratio of protein to fat. Yeah, not only does it have different ratios of protein to fat, but also the water inside the chicken, and da 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 da, on and on and on. Like, it's just, perfection doesn't exist, and chasing it is just a good way to make sure that you probably eventually just say F it. Is it okay for your sodium to increase on a reverse? Does it matter, or you should keep this a low sodium intake? I don't think you should ever keep a low sodium intake unless you have a specific medical condition to that would require a lower sodium intake, like hypertension, or I think it's like 5 to maybe 10% of the population is salt sensitive, meaning that their kidneys don't properly excrete sodium. In that case, you would want to keep sodium low, but you would probably know if that was you or not. But so, like I said earlier, sodium's an electrolyte. Sodium is very helpful for performance. And, if you're too low sodium, your muscles are going to be flatter. You're not going to perform as well. Like, sodium gets a bad rap, but the only reason it does is because people get too attached to the scale number. And if you have more sodium than usual, you retain a little bit more water until you pee it out. You see the number go up in the scale and you're like, crap, I got fat. Well, I can promise you, if you gain 2 pounds of weight in one day, it's not body fat ever. It's always going to be water weight. Just like if you lose 2 pounds in one day, it's not body fat. Your daily fluctuations are all water weight, like 99% water. Okay, maybe not that much, but it's mostly water weight. And there's nothing, your body adjusts to whatever you normally do with sodium. So if you start having a lot more sodium than usual, but you keep doing that, eventually your body's going to adjust to that. Right. In the meantime, you're probably going to be kind of swollen and stuff until it does adapt, but it will. It always does. So yeah, you can increase your sodium. I don't ever pay attention to sodium unless somebody's showing signs of not having enough sodium, and then I say, okay, let's take a look and see what your sodium looks like and see if it's pretty low. But I don't give specific numbers. Thank you. Can you share what you know about protein sparing modified fasting? So many people say it's amazing. I have a hard time seeing with how low your calories have to be. I'm not super familiar with this, and if you can clarify a little bit more, that would probably be helpful. Let's do a quick Google, shall we? Let's see. Protein sparing modified fasting. Boy, there's actually studies on it. Maybe I should look more into this just so I'm more aware of it. Progress way of rapidly losing a large amount of weight. Well, that right there, right off the bat, then no, you don't want to do that. Let's be a PubMed warrior here for a second. Our results show that the diet can be used in an effective and safe method in the outpatient setting for rapid weight loss in adolescents with severe obesity. Bottom line, aids in short-term weight loss, highly restrictive and very low calories, and thus carries risk of nutrient deficiencies and weight regain. Thank you, Healthline. You can't always trust what they're going to say, but that was good. Okay, what is it? Very low calorie design, it severely restricts calorie consumption. I just want to know like what the specifics are. Limiting calorie intake to less than 800 calories per day. I mean, there you go. So basically, I'm going to get off of this right now. But basically, from what it sounds like, it's probably a way to eat very low calories. It's probably a lot of fasting, because when you fast, you modify, you shorten your eating window, makes it easier to eat less calories. By eating more protein, you feel a little bit more full, retain a little bit more lean body mass. So what I'm assuming what they're doing is fasting, low calorie, mostly protein. I'm making assumptions here. I don't want to spend the whole next like hour reading about it. But the reason people say it's amazing is because they lose weight really fast. First of all, I mean, it's kind of like when a lot of people get on keto for the first time. It's like you take away all your carbs, and what happens? You see a huge drop in the scale, because now you're gonna lose tons of glycogen from your muscles, from your liver. You're gonna lose a whole crap load of water weight, and you're gonna see a huge drop in the scale right away. That doesn't mean you're losing a lot of fat. I'm sure you're losing some fat, but a lot of it, most of it, in the early stages is going to be water weight. So people get very excited about that, and you might lose weight quickly. But you know me, if you go really low calorie, especially for a long time, metabolism tanks, hormones tank. Eventually, your body adapts. Now you can't make any more adjustments, and you get stuck. You want to eat as many calories as possible while losing weight, so that you can make more adjustments when your body adapts. And if you go super low calorie right away, yes, you'll lose weight fast at first. But not only is it not all fat, it's a lot of water weight as well as muscle. But eventually you're just going to be stuck and nowhere to go. And it just gets people stuck. So that's probably why people love it, because they see fast results, so to speak. But I would take anybody who says that that's amazing and then check with them a year later and see where they're at. You know what I mean? Not to hate on anybody for their nutritional methods, and if it works for you and you can sustain it and it's great, then fine. And it sounds like there was maybe some sort of like refeeding phase where you do bring calories up, which I hope so. That would be a really good thing. And there can sometimes be value for some people who are very obese to go very low calorie for a short amount of time to get things going and just to get healthier and things like that. But you just have to realize it's not a long-term thing, and eventually that's going to stop, and you do need to find a better, more sustainable way to do it. I have a video called like how to lose belly fat fast or something like that talks about how, yeah, sometimes there can be benefits to it, but you need to know what it means and how to transition out of that. And that's the hard part. Like if you go super aggressive right away and see tons of weight loss, it's a lot harder than go, okay, well, now I'm going to stop, and now I'm going to lose at a slow pace with more food like that. No, nobody wants that, right? Like it's a challenge, but it definitely seems like it's not a good sustainable plan for most people. You're not wrong, and he's not wrong either. I might make a video soon about that too. Like, walking is so beneficial. It's so huge, so huge and helpful. And it's like, I feel like it's crapped on all the time by like hardcore trainers who say you need to like beat yourself into the ground all the time. It's huge. I don't think I've gotten to it. I've barely gotten to any, and I had a bunch of questions up front. I might have to stop doing this. I used to ask a bunch of ask for questions because I was like, okay, there's going to be not there very many people here, and I need some questions to answer while we wait for questions. But that hasn't been the case. So any questions that I don't get to, I'll either answer specifically on your comment, or maybe I'll even make like a separate video answering those. But since you're here, let me find yours, and we'll go over it. Let me see. Here we go. I did a reverse diet for 6 months, started at 1,100 calories and reached 2,700 calories by 6 months. Wow. But then life happens. My dad died. Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry. So sorry to hear that. That's just terrible. Went in my old ways of not tracking, gained 6 kilograms in those 3 months. For those in the US, that's about 13 pounds probably. And didn't track and work out. It's been 4 weeks now, back on track. Well done. Tracking and working out. My question is, I'm a bit confused about how many calories I should be eating now. Is it a good time to start cutting now? By the way, I only lost 1.5 kilograms in 4 weeks since I got back on track. So let me go back to me here. Where are we? Where are we? But whatever, I'll just leave that for now. So you said 6 months of reversing and then 3 months off track, but technically those 3 months were a calorie surplus, right? Like, so you basically still kind of extended the reverse diet. You might not specifically been tracking, but you didn't revert back to low calories and go into a low calorie diet. So you essentially have been reverse dieting for 9 months. That's a pretty good amount of time for most people. I don't know. There's a lot about you I don't know. So I don't know what your history is and anything like that. But most of the time, 9 months is going to be pretty good. And if you wanted to jump into a cut now, especially since you were probably in a pretty dang good surplus and you've been losing weight even on higher calories, my suspicion would be you'd be in a good spot to start a cut now if you would like to. It never hurts to extend it. The longer you can reverse or just hold the higher calories, the better off you're going to be in the long run. But I would suspect that unless you have a very, very extreme history of dieting, I think you could probably get back after it at this point. And you know what? Like, well done. Like, well done getting back after it. That's a horrible thing to have to go through, and breaks my heart to hear. And my condolences. But you didn't let it turn into like a lifetime of struggle or anything. You know what I mean? And you got back after it, and that's all we can ever do. Things happen. We just get back on track, and when we do, we just proceed from there, and we don't look back. So well done. All right, where was I? Yeah, exactly. Like, actually, a lot of people can mistake me for a competitor coach, which I'm not. I don't coach any competitors at all. But a lot of times it does apply either way. And sometimes I do get comments about like, well, you're talking about cutting and building phases. I'm not a competitor, this and that. And they're like, you know what? There's a lot of value to cutting and building phases, even for just the regular person. If for no other reason, just because whenever you go through reverse diet, it's like if you don't have something you're working towards, then it's so difficult to stick to the plan. The nice thing about a building phase is you're going to gain weight, but you're doing it specifically with the goal of building muscle, which gives you purpose to that weight. And it makes it easier to accept and make it more exciting to stick with the routine and go after it and chase more goals. Whereas if the goal is just don't get fat, like that's not very motivating. That's not very powerful. That makes it a lot harder to stick to the plan. And it makes it much harder to deal with any weight gain during the process too, because you're just terrified of it. And it's a slippery slope. So I'm not saying everyone in the world should go through cutting and building phases, but I'm saying, you know what, there can be some value to that, even if you're not someone who wants a lot of muscle or is a competitor. And the laws of thermodynamics don't change whether you're a competitor or not. I would think you just keep the sodium consistent so there's not too many weight fluctuations. I mean, if you really want to dial in and be that specific to your diet that you're monitoring your sodium every single day on top of macros and everything else, sure. But then why does it even matter, right? Like if the weight fluctuations have nothing to do with fat, then why do we care if your weight's fluctuating outside of we need to work on the emotional connection to the scale, right? Like doing things to avoid weight fluctuations that have nothing to do with body fat is a slippery slope, in my opinion. The only reason to supplement, in my opinion, with magnesium is if you have a magnesium deficiency, and that goes for almost any supplement. Sometimes blindly taking supplements can actually do more harm than good. You might actually have too much of a certain supplement, and by supplementing because somebody says you should, that might put you over and have negative health implications. So the best thing you can ever do about knowing what supplements to take in terms of like vitamins and minerals and stuff is go get your blood drawn and see what you're deficient in, and then supplement with that. You're good. Maintenance of 1200 without training and working from home. I have a lot of muscle memory. How many calories can I add above my maintenance calories? Again, I can't. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be rude. I just can't answer that. I can't. Like, it depends on how things go. Monitor, just watch that video about how to fast and increase calories. That's the best thing you can do. Reverse dieting, how fast should you increase calories? I think is the name of it. I think I might have posted it earlier. And that's going to give you everything you need to know. Otherwise, I can't really say. I mean, if you're maintaining on 1200 and you want to try to go to 1250 for a week and see, that's fine. But monitor and adjust. Monitor and adjust. Monitor and adjust. Broken record, I know. Hey, Paul, I'm Colin, but thank you. I've been watching your channel for a while, and I've been trying to reverse diet on my own, but I figured I could use your help. Although I do have my parents' permission. Is 14 too young? No, I can work with a minor as long as I get consent from a parent or guardian. So what we would do is I would send you a release, and then you would have to sign it, as well as a parent would have to sign it as well. And if they're willing to do that, then I have no problem working with you at 14. So yeah, if you want to do that and your parents are on board, just fill out an application at, wait for it, ColinDeWaayTraining.com. And by the way, I've been called worse than Paul. You too. Thank you, Christine. I always appreciate your comments too. I really do. I love seeing your comments on almost all my videos. It is very much appreciated. And you do appreciate all the likes and comments and anything anybody ever gives me. When dieting clients around 15% body fat male, do you favor lowering food or increasing cardio through incline walking? Currently at 15 minutes post-workout treadmill, going to add 5 minutes per week. It depends on what the person prefers. So it's harder to make a significant calorie reduction in the net calories scheme of things through increased incline walking. It's much easier to do. Like, okay, if you drop 100 calories a day or 150 calories a day, then boom, you've dropped 700 to 1,000 calories for the week, right? Whereas if you're it's harder to determine how much increase in cardio you have to do to get that same amount, and it's probably a lot more than any calculation would say. So it's hard to say for sure. But I always ask people, what sounds worse, more cardio or less calories, right? So some people prefer one over the other, and I'll steer more towards one side or the other based on that. But usually, if I'm making a change, it's not always, but usually it's going to be some combination of the two. Again, depending on a lot of things. 5 minutes per week. You're probably going to want to do a calorie reduction with that. Otherwise, do a bigger change once you do, and don't do it until you stall out either. Like, don't just keep. You don't want to like reverse diet and reverse, so to speak, which is a common mistake a lot of people make. Meaning, like you keep making small changes every week, even like your body's just going to keep adapting down, and it's not going to do anything for you. So always, whatever you're doing and it's working, always ride it out until it stops working, or until you want to take a diet break and come back or whatever. I do want to do these more frequently. I do. My concern was if I do them too frequently, nobody's gonna have any questions. Last time I did it after a couple weeks, it was like kind of crickets. But if it's going to be consistent and I'm going to have a good audience like this, I will do them more frequently because I really do enjoy them. I really do. You're very, very welcome. All good. Like I said, if you're going to call me anything in the world besides Colin, I guess Paul would probably be the second best. Boy, it's been 2 hours. Let me handle some of these other questions that I haven't gotten to. And we'll probably call it soon. My wife and I are going to be going to the beach today. She's getting off at like 1:30 our time Eastern. We're going to head down to the beach. All right. Let's see. I've already got that one. Andrew, you were here. I already handled that one and that one. Is walking good enough when reverse dieting for teens? I don't really know what that means. So here's what I'll say about that. So this actually is a pretty good question to answer, because I do get the question about exercising and walking during a reverse a lot. So First of all, walking is great. Walking is very healthy. It's a good thing to do and include in your lifestyle almost no matter what. But you also have to realize if you're reverse dieting with the intention of cutting down the road to better lose fat again, your body adapts to whatever you do. So if you do lots of walking now, that's going to be your baseline when it's time to cut. So if you just do thousands upon thousands of steps every single day now, while you reverse diet, once you go to cut, you're going to have to make most of your reductions through, or most of your changes through calories or more forms of traditional cardio. It's going to be hard to take much more steps because you're already doing a lot, right? So you could make the argument that you actually want to reduce steps during a reverse diet if you want to put yourself in a more optimal position. I don't want you like doing nothing and just sitting around and being completely sedentary. But you probably don't want to increase your steps through a reverse. Especially not to try to like keep yourself from gaining weight. That's that's looking for a loophole that doesn't exist. The best thing you can do with regards to exercise in a reverse is strength train. Go in there and train. It's the best thing you can do for yourself. I know not everybody likes strength training, and I don't want you to do something that you hate necessarily. Maybe if you could even just do 1 or 2 days a week, there still would be value to it. But it's a balancing act. But you know, as far as like, is it good enough? I don't really know what that means. And it's. Let me put it this way: walking isn't benefiting your reverse diet. That's probably the best way to put it. Same with like added cardio. Like you can make the argument: is cardio walking or is walking cardio or not? That's not an argument I'm looking to make here. It's just it doesn't benefit the reverse diet in any way. Outside of maybe being able to eat some more calories through it. You're very welcome, Kim. Thank you. Awesome. I love it. You guys are too kind. Yes. I'm glad you guys love this stuff. I really do. I've been reverse dieting for the last 5 months. My mood, my mindset is so much better. Yes. I'm really thankful for your content. Losing weight is not the goal. Yes. This makes me so happy. Thank you. You're very welcome. And these are the messages that just bring such a smile to my face. It makes me so happy. I try to pound this all the time. And some people, it never sinks in, unfortunately. It's hard. It is to not get so wrapped up in body image and body weight and all that type of stuff. But man, like most people, if we think about why we do what we do, we should usually be doing it because we want to be happy, right? And we make the assumption that a better body is going to make you happier, which is not always the case. I would argue most people having a little bit more body fat, but having balance and flexibility and not getting caught up in body weight and body image and everything else is going to make you way happier than even losing weight, but not enjoying life, right? Like what good does that weight loss do if you don't even like your life, right? Like, man, I'm not saying we shouldn't ever try to lose weight. Of course. And health is very important. We don't want to just get super fat because who cares about body image? That's not what I'm saying at all. It's certainly a balancing act. But always got to remember too that there's times for everything. Like there's going to be a time to cut, there's going to be a time to build, and nothing's forever and everything's temporary. And but creating that better mindset is everything. That's number one. That's the thing that has to happen before anything else is going to come together. And it's very hard to do by dieting all the time. It's so hard to work on your relationship with food and your body and stuff when you're constantly dieting. So I love this. Love this. Yeah. All right. I think the rating's on the wall. If you struggle with getting a full long workout in due to your schedule, do you think doing multiple short sets throughout the day can work too? Yeah. I think it could. So I'm assuming what you mean is kind of coming back and forth throughout the day. Maybe like you have a gym in your job or something like that. It's certainly better than not getting all your volume in. And anytime you can get anything in, it's beneficial. So yeah, I mean, it's just, okay, you got to warm up again and everything else is probably not the most optimal way to do things, but optimal isn't everything. Is There's such thing as too small of a calorie surplus for optimal muscle gain. Does a 1 to 300 calorie surplus count? Yeah, I mean that's probably a good surplus for most people looking to build, and it's more about the pace of weight gain. So I usually say if you're looking to kind of like lean bulk, so to speak, and I have a video called Reverse Dieting to Lean Bulk you might want to watch. You want to aim for between about 0.2 to 0.5% of your body weight on average per week. If you're in a lean bulking phase where you have enough calories to be in a surplus to optimally build, but not so much that you're building unnecessary body fat, because a large surplus isn't more optimal than building muscle than a small surplus most of the time. It just makes you gain more fat unnecessarily. But yeah, 1 to 300. That's good. What do you tell someone who is contemplating competing for the first time in the near future? Make sure that you are completely 100% all in, that that's what you want to do, because you need to understand and know that it does take over your life. It's a huge, huge commitment, and not a lot of people don't understand that. It takes a lot, both mentally and physically. And I'm not steering someone from trying to do it. You just have to realize what it's going to mean and accept what that's going to mean. And you're going to have to make a lot of sacrifices in other areas of your life. And you're going to get to places where you get to really low body fat and you feel like crap, and it's going to be a grind. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. You just need to have to accept that it's going to be a huge undertaking. And you also have to accept that, it's a temporary thing too. You don't lose. I've heard people say, well, I want to compete so I can lose the weight. Like, that's the worst thing you could ever do. Because first of all, you're never going to maintain that anyways. You're not supposed to. That's unhealthy to be that low body fat. And it's just not a good situation to fall into that. I would say start going to shows. If you've never been to a show, especially, go to show and see what it's all about. See if it looks like something you would like and something that you would enjoy. And, just start surrounding yourself with the material. And then, of course, also don't go into a actual prep unless you're in a really, really, really good spot metabolically. You don't want to even think about trying to compete unless you've really taken the time to reverse diet build, get in a good place to start that prep. Because if you go in with metabolism already down, good luck. Bueller Chicken, when cross-country running starts, because I have to manage reverse dieting, lifting, and running, but I plan to decrease lifting volume and keep nutrition good. Yeah, I mean, it's all about your own balance, and I can't tell you what's good or bad or right or wrong for you. And everyone has to determine what their own balance is. But any amount of lifting is always helpful and beneficial. So whatever you can get in. All right, was there anything else over here? I don't think I got this one. I feel I've hit my maintenance calories on a reverse. Let me read it over here so it looks like I'm looking at you. How long do you recommend keep it the same calories before cutting? FYI, I'm a yo-yo dieter with a bad relationship with the food. Currently on week 20 of reverse. I had increasing slowly for the last few weeks, increased a lot while off plan for a few days. Scale is creeping up. I tracked those surplus days, so I see that the progress compared to the past, but I fear overeating my calories now in maintenance. So first of all, just get back on track. When you overeat, especially if your relationship with food isn't good, just get back on track. Don't try to make up for it or anything else. Keep going. Just take it from there. And I usually don't say maintain after reverse dieting for a certain amount of time. I usually combine the two. If I say like a year, that means a year from when you started to increase and then how long. But I would honestly, like a good 6 months of maintaining would be fantastic. The intro to this video was talking about how now is the perfect time to start a reverse. 6 months from now puts you through the holiday season. You'll then have almost a whole year of higher calories and helping repair your metabolism and hormones and things like that. Get through the holiday season with your calories nice and high to be nice and flexible and enjoy that time and everything else. And then look at some point next year to maybe go after a cut. But again, the longer the better. And big thing is working on your relationship with food and stuff through this time. So yeah, just keep being patient. And some people say like, well, I don't want to cut in January because then I feel like it's a New Year's resolution. It's like, it's not a New Year's resolution. If you cut in January, unless you make it so, but even then, like, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. There's a difference between having no active lifestyle whatsoever and just completely doing whatever the heck you want, and then in January saying, okay, time to change my life because it's January 1st. And that's very different than lifting, specifically increasing your calories, working on your metabolism, building muscle, going through the phase, and then cutting in January. January is a great time to cut. It's an awesome time to cut. So don't let that mindset thing kind of mess with you a little bit. And I just realized I've been off screen all that time and I've been making hand gestures and stuff. Very welcome. So I'm actually not currently tracking. So I would estimate, though, that my maintenance calories is probably somewhere between 26 and 2,800 calories, just based on my extensive history of tracking and knowing kind of what things usually look like around certain body weights and things like that. So that would be my guess. But I don't know for sure because I haven't been tracking for quite a while. But I'm thinking about doing a video talking about an update here soon. Probably going to start a cut for right after Labor Day. I cut for like 9 weeks at the end of last year. That got cut short because I stopped it once I had my eye issues and couldn't do any exercise for 22 weeks or whatever it was. So I stopped it. So I did a show, which I'll probably never do again. Again, I'm not a competitor. I just wanted to do it once and see. I did a show in October of 2019, and I've only cut for 9 weeks since then. So in almost 2 years, I've only had 9 weeks of cutting. So I should be in a great place. And it's not to be like, okay, I want to get to this weight and stay there. It's just, I like to challenge myself and see what it looks like to get down to lower levels of body fat sometimes. And then I'll reverse out and work on that. So anyways, side rant. I will never, well, I shouldn't say I'll never. It's very unlikely I'll ever do a full day eating. I don't like them. I feel like they can further develop people's unhealthy relationships with food. And they feel like, oh, if this person's eating this, it must be good. And if they're not, it must be bad, and this and that and the other. I know that's not always true. But my go-to meal, I have literally been eating the same lunch mostly for the last like 3 years, and I can't believe I'm not sick of it yet. But it's just, I like it because I don't have to think about it. It makes it easy and simple, and it's just a routine. And that is a chicken breast with a side of either brown rice, jasmine rice, white rice, quinoa, some sort of grain. I have a gluten intolerance, so I can't just eat any type of carb. So I'm pretty stuck to like oats, and for like whole foods like oats and quinoa and rices and things, and potatoes, things like that. But it's usually some kind of a grain, chicken breast, and asparagus. And then I mixed chia seeds into my rice. If I'm in a big building phase, I might throw some olive oil in there just to get some easy calories in without feeling full. That's like my main meal. And then dinner is usually some sort of meat with a side and then a vegetable. And then my last meal is before bed. And that's when I eat the rest of my calories. Just kind of, that's when I'm a little bit more flexible with things and have a little something fun or whatever and just round it out. But the chicken and rice, like, I'm not a bro by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not a clean eater, but bro foods are bro foods for a reason. You know what I mean? They're often nutrient dense, filling, high protein. I'm not gonna make any promises, but maybe I'll document my cut. I don't know. We'll see. If I do, it would probably be more likely that I document it on Instagram than on YouTube, but we'll see. I dropped 20 kilograms over the last 3 to 4 years. Congratulations. Now I want to start to focus on muscle building things while starting to focus while starting to focus more on my running skills at the same time. So positive deficit. I'm not totally understanding that, other than I think what you're asking is you want to focus on muscle building, but you also want to improve your running, which they can kind of be opposing goals, because there can be a blunting mechanism to building muscle by doing a lot of cardio, but improving running skills doesn't necessarily mean you're doing a ton of running either. And you'll really need to make sure you're keeping your calories up is going to be like number one. So like really make sure you're paying attention to nutrition and getting those calories nice and high to fuel all that performance that you have. And that's the nice thing too. Like, a lot of times we think of running or any type of cardio as a form of helping lose fat, which it is. But if you just really like running, you're going to run better by fueling yourself properly and being in a calorie surplus. That's going to fuel your running way better than being in a calorie deficit, right? So there's benefit in that too. So I mean, it can definitely be done. You definitely want to be in a calorie surplus for that, without question. If that was your question. Well, like I said, I'm going into a cut after Labor Day, so hopefully by the end of this year, you'll see shredded Colin. No, it won't be stage lean Colin. You'll probably never see that Colin. I'll never say never, but I probably will never see that Colin again. But I'm around 178-ish right now. I could see getting to the mid to high 160s maybe, but we'll just see how things go. I'm not attached to it. I don't really care. I don't care what it ends up looking like or what my number is. I'm just going to do it until I don't want to do it anymore and then be done. I probably have a little bit less muscle now than I did before too. But I was like a high 150s when I was on stage. But the craziest thing is like the fat loss to the mid 160s was relatively easy, and then going from like 165 to 160, especially like 162 to like 158, oh my gosh, the difference between losing that last little bit of weight and losing the initial weight is drastic. Like losing that last bit of weight is intense. And the amount of cardio and walking and the low production in calories that required just to get a few more pounds off, which is everything, a bodybuilding show. There's definitely a point of diminished returns when it comes to losing fat. Hey, how often should we track measurements in fat loss phase? I recommend every week. You don't have to, but I recommend it. At least once a month, but I would recommend every other week or every week, just to keep an eye on it. It's not the be all end all. It's just another form of measurement. Okay, cool. Very welcome. Do you ever feel like when you don't have your regular meal, chicken, grains, greens, your body really doesn't like it? Like you feel sluggish? It really affects me. No, I don't think I noticed that. There might be a mental component to that too, possibly. I don't know. But no, I don't normally notice that personally. I notice if my diet as a whole, like not one meal, but if my diet as a whole starts getting lax and I'm not feeling myself well, then yeah, I absolutely notice it. Hey, Margaret. I'm also interested in figuring out how to determine maintenance calories. I appreciate you mentioning how hard it is to lose the last few pounds. Yeah. Well, Margaret, we could talk offline too. For everyone else, Margaret's a client of mine. So, you know that your maintenance calories is a bit above whatever you're currently doing now. So when I have you on a diet break, Margaret, that's roughly your maintenance calories, right? So what you need to understand though is that maintenance calories is a moving target. There's no such thing as this is your maintenance calories. As you diet, your maintenance calories come down. As you reverse diet, your maintenance calories go up. It moves with what you do. So there's no like static maintenance calories. So hopefully that was helpful. All right, maybe a couple more here. What's going on over here? Is that all of them? Got that one, got that. Is it true that women and men really have to eat calorie recommendations? So the idea of someone's weight is pounds times 15. Does that mean if you're eating less than that, like 1,000 calories less, it is putting your body in a less happy place? Do all humans need similar calories depending on age, weight, exercise levels, or can it be that a female on 1,500 calories? Oh, this is kind of all over the place. Sorry, I'm not trying to be mean. Let me do my best here. So, no, not everyone has the same calorie needs dependent on age, height, weight, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They can be different based on genetics and a lot of different factors. I don't like getting into like weight times 15 pounds and things like that. That's pretty generic. But if you want to be leaner, then yeah, you do have to go into a calorie deficit and therefore eat less calories to do so. I'm having a hard time quite understanding that. So sorry if I didn't really answer that very well. I'm losing weight and gaining strength in the gym. Gotta like that. In a cutting phase, but my waist is constant. Does that mean I'm losing fat in other areas of your body? Probably, yeah. So when you go into a calorie deficit, you're gonna lose fat, but your body's gonna choose where it comes from. You can't like spot burn fat, so it's just gonna kind of come off from wherever. And there's certain areas of everyone's body that are typically harder to lose than others. Waist is oftentimes one of those. So I mean, there could be a lot to it, and keep in mind too, like waist measurements, they're kind of tricky. Like, I've got one like right here, like the way you hold it, like this, like you can hold it up or down or wherever else, you know what I mean? And it's not always going to be very constant, but it's not bad. It's good to take the measurements. There's actually different ones that are a little bit more reliable. Let me see if I can find it. Waist. Oh, not waist trainers. We don't care about those. Measuring tool. There we go. How do I get rid of this? Come on, go away. So I don't know anything about this brand or anything like that, but this is what I'm talking about. So it goes into one side and you can go around it, and then it cinches on your waist, and then that way you're holding with the exact same pressure each time. You're not holding the tape a little bit tighter or a little bit looser. You can still go up and down a little bit, which will drastically change it. But the point I'm trying to make is it's certainly not perfect. But it's one tool in the tool belt. So like we're always looking for some sort of change, whether it's waist measurement, changes in measurements, the scale going down, clothes fitting better, visual changes in pictures. As long as you're seeing changes in any of those, then progress is happening. And sometimes people lose a lot of inches before they lose on the scale. Some people lose a lot on the scale before they lose in inches. Some people don't lose any weight or measurements, but you can visibly see that big changes are happening. So we have to pay attention to everything. Not right now. I'm always game to go on his channel whenever if he wants me on there. All right. Was there any other questions? Oh, here's an impossible one to answer. I have a video on this, so I'm going to send you to it. So the question is, my question is, how much weight can you expect to gain on a reverse diet? I did a video. Let me see. It wasn't that long ago, actually. I don't think. Here it is. Called reverse dieting. How much weight will you gain? So let me go to the comments. That's going to be a good one for you. There's just will you gain reverse dieting? There's just so many different factors. It's like an impossible question to answer, but there's some things you can look for, especially in terms of like, okay, how much should you be gaining if you're trying to go into a lean bulk? So like I said, around 0.2 to 0.5%. If you're not trying to gain, then maybe a little bit less than that. But it's like there's so many variables, and it's such an impossible question to answer. It really is. Not sure, man, but maybe a couple weeks. This is going really well, so I would like to try to do them like every other week, maybe. I know I'm going to be gone. Where am I going to be gone? I'm going to be gone this week, so that's the 27th, right? So what, 30th, 13th? Yeah, I'll try to go in a couple weeks. Yes, it can get expensive when you compete. Much less for guys. It's extremely expensive for women, especially when you factor in like all the hair and the makeup, and the suits can cost a freaking fortune. Thankfully for like guys, like when I competed in my physique show, it was just the Protan and the what's it called? The stuff you like pat on, Dream Tan, and those aren't that expensive. I think maybe $100 combined for the two. And then the trunks, the Protein trunks I bought were like $50-$60. And then the cost to compete at the show, I don't remember what that was, maybe $70. So, it's going to cost a couple $100, but it's nothing in compared to what it costs for women. And then you probably have to get a membership to whatever federation. So, I mean, it adds up a little bit more, I guess, but it's not horrible. I live in Florida. My wife and I and my child moved here from Minnesota 6 years ago. We lived there for 35. Well, my son obviously didn't, but me and my wife lived there for 35 years and got sick of the cold and sold our house for a huge loss when the market sucked, and had to borrow money and move in with my parents for almost a year to pay it back. And it's just changed our whole lives. And that's when I quit my job and started this business. And I've been very fortunate that it's worked out the way it has, because it could have gone really bad. We took a big chance on all that. But man, it was worth it. Okay, I lost my spot. Well, let me go back. I want to get all these questions. I don't like to leave anybody hanging. Oh, that was it. That was all of them. So, any other questions? I'll give you a minute or so. No, I don't watch cricket. So in Minnesota, I used to be, believe it or not, in a wiffle ball league. And we would go to these parks that had like a hockey rink. You would play in half of a hockey rink. That was the field. And in one of the fields that was in Hopkins, Minnesota, there was always guys out there playing cricket. And, we were all baseball, wiffle ball players, whatever. And we were trying to understand the game, and we would watch and watch and watch, and I couldn't for the life of me figure it out. Like, because when you think about like hitting a ball hard and far, that's good, right? Like, so you'd see the guys playing cricket, and they'd hit it, and they'd just launch it, and you're like, whoa! And they'd be like, no, that's bad. I'm like, what? So I don't understand it. I had one, but it was Paul. The cost of a coach varies dramatically, but you have to reach out to other people and see, how much they cost. Like it can vary so dramatically between coaches, and it's all different. Like what's expensive. It's kind of interesting. Like when people ask me about my pricing, and I don't go public with it for a reason, because it can depend on what you want. But I always go over that in the questionnaire. But it's kind of funny. Like, one person will go, oh, I can't believe how affordable you are. I thought it was gonna be much more expensive. And the next person will be like, wow, that's outrageous. Like, how can you beat cost? Like, so it's like cost is kind of like in the eye of the beholder, like beauty. It's all relative to the individual. Not many. Paul, Lane are the main ones that I watch. I have a couple that I somewhat watch sometimes, like Brandon Campbell, just because I've been watching his channel forever and I just like him as a person. But it's not really specific. I don't really watch it for the information. I just like him. most of the smaller channels that I watched, they all died off for the most part. About one of the only ones that still makes content uh, is Gray Wolf Fitness, and I watch his channel just because he entertains me and he's always supported me. But I don't watch a lot of fitness YouTube content, to be honest, and I don't really like most of the larger channels. I don't like their content, and I think a lot of it is doing more harm than good, honestly, for people. Um, Trying to think if there's anybody I'm not thinking of right now. That's mostly it. What is the most useless supplement according to me? Well, a lot of them are pretty hard to say. Um, Let me think. Is there one that's popular that is useless? Glutamine is useless for like muscle recovery based on the data that I've seen. I don't. There can be some benefits to glutamine for gut health potentially, but it's usually in higher dosages, but not in terms of like performance. I'll flip it instead and say the most underrated and the most research backed and best supplement there is creatine, but people are so afraid of it because you might gain a couple pounds, which is just muscle water and creatine phosphate in your muscles, which is a good thing. Again, don't get wrapped up in the scale. BCAAs are a tricky one. It's not. You know what? I'm gonna send you to a video. There can potentially be some benefits to it. It's not beneficial for building muscle per se. Most likely, it can be in a very roundabout sort of way, but it's gone from it used to be considered like the magic supplement to now all of a sudden everyone says it's completely worthless and you shouldn't even take it. I land somewhere in the middle between those two, and this video will cover what I mean by that. And this has gone long enough, so I'm gonna hand you off. Check out or just look up for RBCAAs Worth It. It's literally the name of my video. All right, I'm gonna do one more here, and then I'm gonna head out. Sorry, guys, been a long time. I've known Paul for about 6 years. I met him not too long after we moved to Florida. I happened to go to the same gym as him and Lane, and that's how I met them. Became friends, and it's kind of funny. At first, Paul and I didn't actually like each other. Our first interactions weren't very good. He just thought I was kind of like a Lane fanboy, and said some things, and that kind of made me be like, "Who's this dick?" And and we talk about it all the time, like how we didn't click right away, and now we're like, he's my best friend in Florida anyway. And he's an amazing, wonderful person. But it got off to a rocky start. But yeah, it was about 6 years ago. Okay, I'm gonna head out. It is 12:30 p.m. So yeah, there you go. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Like I said, if you're interested in coaching, head to colindeweaytraining.com, fill out an application. I will shoot a video just like I'm doing right now. Get back to you specifically going over your goals and everything and any questions you have, and send it to you. If you don't see a response from me within 24 hours, check your spam junk folder. It will be in there, almost guaranteed. And if you don't hear back at all, send me some kind of message somewhere, Instagram or wherever, because I don't ignore any emails, applications ever. Like I will respond. So if you don't get back from me, it's not because I wasn't interested. It's because somehow it didn't get to you for some reason. So thank you. Really enjoyed this, and I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend.